Good morning, everyone. I'm Paul Valley. He's Zach Goodman. This is the Bat Around coming to you on a beautiful Saturday morning here in Baltimore, and it's even more lovely because the Orioles won a baseball game. 2 wins on the year. They've scored exactly 2 runs in both of their wins this year. I'll tell you, though, Zachary, and actually before I tell you, I just want to remind you that today's show is brought to you by the Bat Around. This show
brought to you by the Bat Around, yeah.
It's brought to you by the Baltimore Police. Join a proud new generation of Baltimore Police and make an active difference in your community. Start with competitive wages and excellent benefits on day one. Join for good at bpdrecruit.org. That's bpdrecruit.org.
Paul, I could see you as a police officer.
I can't.
I could see it.
I have too much of a checkered past to
Yeah?
be a police officer. You could do.
I don't know.
I don't know, man. I think like you can't have ever like partaken in nature's grass or something like that to be a police.
Nature's grass. That's one way to put it.
Nature's grass. I guess all grass is nature's grass.
That would be true.
But
Not turf fields.
yeah, that's not nature.
Yeah, but it's grass.
Yeah, but
It's just not nature's grass.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
Orioles baseball.
That's not
2-5.
I don't think it's considered grass either.
No,
I think it's just
I don't know.
considered turf.
It's. I love turf fields. I'm a turf field guy over regular grass.
Well, all right.
I just had to put that out there for everyone who was curious about Zach
So-
Goodman liking turf fields. That's it.
I think we all. I don't know. I can't make a blanket statement that we all like turf fields. I don't hate them. True hops. But anyway, the Orioles, they won a baseball game last night 2-1. The good. The team had 10 walks to 9 strikeouts. Jordan Lyles, 5 1/3 innings pitched, 6 hits, 1 run, 2 walks, 4 Ks after kind of a dud his first start. And guys, we told you that this was going to be kind of his MO.
Yep.
A bad one, then a couple of good ones, and another bad one.
It's like every other.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to be a lot.
Well,
of
I don't
times.
think it's even every other.
Maybe every couple, yeah.
I think it's really more like a two out of 3
Sure.
situation. I expect him to go out and pitch well again his next start and then fall on his face the 4th start. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
The bullpen, absolutely outstanding.
Yes.
5 2/3 innings pitched, 1 hit, 0 earned runs, 0 walks, 9 Ks. You know, I meant to figure out what the team bullpen ERA is.
I can try to figure that out.
If you can figure that
Sure.
out, because I was up doing the payoff pitch super late last night, and the payoff pitch around the league is, of course, when we do our out-of-town scores. And that keeps you up super late on a Friday night, and I could barely the late games I didn't even get to. I finished all the games that were completed, and then I was like, I got to go to bed. I was dying. But the bullpen's been absolutely phenomenal, and the entire pitching staff as a whole has a 3.19 ERA through 7 games, albeit it's a small sample size. But the entire team's pitching to a 3.19 ERA. Hayes, Robinson, Chirinos, 2 hits apiece last night. That's the good. That's the good in the game. The bad in the game is that they did strike out 9 more times. They lead the major leagues in strikeouts, I believe, with 77 through 7 games.
Seems accurate.
Which is awful.
Yep.
They went 1 for 15 with runners in scoring position last night. These guys are getting guys on base at a pretty high. They're walking a ton.
They are. I clearly think that was an emphasis throughout the spring training and maybe even the offseason. Obviously, they weren't really allowed to put programs in place, but maybe they said right before the lockout, hey, guys, work on your plate discipline this offseason. It's different. I mean, you're seeing Ryan Mountcastle and Austin Hayes.
And Anthony Santander.
And Santander and Mateo, another guy who strikes out a lot and doesn't walk a lot. You're seeing all of these guys get on base at a much higher clip because they're being way more disciplined at the plate. It's nice to see.
The team on base percentage is only about 309, but that's also because the batting averages aren't very high.
Right.
But these guys, in the last 5 games, they have walked 30 times.
Yeah,
They've
that's
walked
amazing.
30 times. 10 walks in one game against the Yankees, who aren't.
Right.
They're not a great pitching team.
No.
They're not an awful pitching team
they
either.
faced some good arms last night.
Yeah.
Loizaga is a very real arm.
Yeah,
and
no,
they had a good game off Loizaga.
We know Miguel Castro. He's got a good. I didn't even realize he was with the Yankees.
Yeah, he was traded. The Mets needed a lefty in their bullpen, so they made that trade and sent Castro over for a lefty there.
Yeah, they've got good arms. And case in point, the Orioles were 1 for 15 with runners in scoring position, and they struck out 9 times, but they did walk 10 times. The Orioles are 6 for 70 with runners in scoring position this year. With God, I can't even count the strikeouts.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of strike. I believe it's over 30.
Yeah, and the more reliable guys from last year, especially Ramon Arias, is a guy that was really good with runners in scoring position, has not come through for them yet. But it's 7 games into the season, and I don't want to make too many harsh judgments. But we know that this team isn't good.
There's gonna be a game where they go like 7 for 13 with runners in
Sure.
scoring position, and they score like 12 runs.
They have a game every year, I believe it was against Cleveland like 2 years ago in 2019 because it was in June of 2019. I remember I was on vacation, I was watching this, and they scored like 17 runs back to back against Cleveland.
It was 2019, which was 3 years ago. And
correct, yeah.
yeah.
I'm still living in the past, guys.
They were one of the games they were wearing their Maryland sleeve jerseys.
Yes.
And they won both games 13-0.
Oh, it was 13.
It
okay.
is the only time in Major League history that a team has shut out the same opponent on back-to-back days by a score of at least 13-0.
Yeah.
It was the only time in Major League history. So that abysmal team that lost 108 games still setting Major League records.
And that's what I expect more of this year. I expect some of those games where they'll throw up 13 runs or 15 runs, and they'll look like the greatest team you've ever seen, and they'll hit with runners in scoring position. They'll shut out pitching-wise, and you'll go, okay, there's some future here. You know, this guy's doing this, and this guy's doing that, and you'll get excited about it. The next night they'll come out and get shut out 8-0.
Yeah,
that's just the way this team is.
Yeah, it's there at the beginning of it's still the beginning of the year, but at the very beginning, what I was noticing was guys who were taking too aggressive of at bats with guys on base, pressing, trying too hard to do too much.
Yeah.
And it was quite evident. Now I still think they're doing the same thing.
I think that's the story of Cedric Mullin's season so far.
Yeah, he's
pressing.
13 strikeouts and 30 at bats.
Yep.
And he had those back-to-back games where he had the 2-run single in the home opener.
Yeah.
And then he had the grand slam the next day, and you're thinking, and the double off the wall. It was almost a home run.
Yep.
And you're sitting there, and you're like, all right, Cedric's back. He's not back.
No.
He's not. He is really struggling. He has struck out twice, at least twice, in every game but two.
Yeah.
He's not back. He's still pressing.
No.
He's still struggling. Look, you see the glimpses.
Sure.
This ain't Cedric Mullins of 2019.
No.
Right? It's not the guy that started the year 6 for 64.
That guy wouldn't have hit that grand slam. No way.
No. But you can tell his like you said last week, his swing decision.
Oh, it's horrible.
It's very poor. He's swinging
yeah.
at a lot of pitches. Now look, when he struck out against who was the guy that was pitching last night that threw that filth, the 99-mile-an-hour fastball.
It wasn't Leckie, was it?
I don't know.
Miguel Castro throws 99. Could have been him.
No, it definitely wasn't
No,
Miguel. It definitely wasn't Miguel Castro. But he's up there, and I believe it's a 2-1 count. Or it's a 2-0 count. It's a 2-0 count. And this pitcher, the umpire's strike zone last night was absolutely terrible.
It was bad.
He had no idea what he was calling from pitch to pitch. The Cedric Mullins is up in the count 2-0. There's a pitch that's outside the strike zone, called a strike. There's another pitch that's outside the strike zone, called a strike. So now it's 2-2. And this dude throws one of the nastiest pitches I have ever seen in my entire freaking life.
Yeah.
It starts out down the middle, and it breaks so hard outside that it ends up being a ball.
It might have been Leckie because Leckie does have a really good slider.
And no, it was a righty. And
okay.
And it broke.
Okay.
And it broke right.
I don't know.
It was either a two-seamer or a cutter. I don't know what the hell it was, but it was 99 miles an hour on the outside corner, and Cedric just flailed at it. He had no chance. That nobody in baseball, Juan Soto, Shohei Ohtani, I'm talking left-handed batters because it was in the right-handed batter's box. No hitter in baseball could have hit that.
Speaking of Ohtani, also off to a slow start.
He had 2 home runs
just like Cedric. Did he? I didn't see that. I was actually at the Orioles game, so I wasn't really following baseball.
Way to be about it, bruh.
Got to be up on this stuff for the bat.
Yeah. No. That the pitch was absolutely filthy. So I can't hate on Cedric for that at bat. However, he has poor swing decisions throughout the year. Again, 13 strikeouts in 30 at bats. That don't play.
No.
That don't play.
No.
He'll right the ship.
Yeah.
Austin Hayes, he had 2 hits last night, but before that he was like 2 for 20 or 2 for 23 or something like that. Like
couple walks though, good amount.
And he hit into some tough luck. A couple hard line drives. He got caught.
Yeah.
These guys are gonna turn it around.
Sure.
And maybe Hayes started to turn it around last night, but they're gonna turn it around.
Yeah.
And these things have a way of evening themselves out. You know, the great bullpen with a bunch of guys who you've never heard of before.
Yeah, no.
That's going to even out.
Right.
Going 6 for 70 with runners in scoring position, maybe they go 20 for 70 their next 70 at bats.
Slightly better.
You know what I mean? So,
Right. Like you said, it's all going to even out. I mean, CNL Perez is not going to be shut down all year, and Brian Baker is not going to be shut down all year. He's not going to strike out Aaron Judge like he did last night. I mean, these things they're going to all collide eventually, and the Orioles are going to get better at some things and worse at other things. And it's a 162-game season. This is a long time.
You listened to what everybody was saying last night, all the broadcasters, the managers, the people watching. A lot of people think this was the best game of the Brandon Hyde era. A lot of people think this was I don't know how a 2-1 game where your team goes 1 for 15 with runners in scoring position. I think that's let's pump the brakes a little bit. But they were all saying to a man, this is the best pitching they've ever seen from the Orioles in the Brandon Hyde era.
So far, from what we've seen from the Orioles, I would say this is the best pitching staff they've had. I would agree with that.
Well,
so far, we're 7 games in. That could be. I could say something different next week. I don't know.
So far, and they're not. Let's also keep in mind. Well, the Rays are a good hitting team,
Yeah.
and the Brewers are not. The Yankees are. Now they do this 2 out of. God, how sweet would a sweep be?
Be pretty amazing. Be pretty amazing.
After starting 1-5, and the Yankees come to town, and they're like, it's so funny to me when their fans get on Twitter and they say this series has to be a sweep. Imagine what's going on in their minds right now.
Oh, I'm sure they're not very happy. I mean, it's funny because I was at the game last night, and there were so many Yankee fans there.
Mm-hmm. And there were 32,000 fans at that game last night.
It was a good crowd, very good crowd. So
love to see it, even if it is mostly Yankee fans. You want to see a packed house.
Every pop-up they hit, in any field pop-up, the Yankees fans explode. They think the ball's like, going onto Utah Street or something. Every single pop-up, they just explode. I mean,
it's not just Yankee fans. I went to the game.
I don't know.
I went to the game the night before on Wednesday.
Okay.
I'm sorry, not the night before. I went to the game on Wednesday night.
The Brewers game, yeah.
And there were like 10,000 fans there, and every pop-up, every fly ball.
What do you watch the outfielder, not the ball?
Right.
That's the rule.
I got fooled on a double off the wall.
Oh, that's different.
I got fooled because the guy hit it, and everybody's like, "Oh!" And I'm looking at it, I'm watching the trajectory, and I'm like, "Cedric's gonna catch that."
Yeah.
And then I'm like, "Wait," and I didn't realize he was playing Adam Jones depth.
Yeah.
Where he was so far in.
Yeah.
He had no shot at it. But generally, if there's a fly ball off the bat, sometimes you can tell, but other times just look at the outfielder.
Right.
Oh, yeah. You can tell by their reaction what this ball is going to do. But that's besides the ball. What we haven't even talked about yet is how the Orioles won. And the Orioles won on a walk-off walk. You love to see it. Bases loaded.
Uh-huh.
You would rather see them get a hit.
I would
too. It's a very anticlimactic win, right? But when it's Aroldis Chapman on the mound, who is an all-world scumbag piece of garbage, and then you see the catcher get so mad on a pitch that's clearly a ball. And Aaron Boone gets so mad on a pitch that's clearly a ball. And I love what Kevin Brown said. He goes, and Aaron Boone just got tossed from a game that no longer exists. He's like, I think he's going to follow him down the tunnel. What does that even mean? If you get tossed from that game, if you get tossed after the game's over,
that makes no sense.
You should be tossed from the next game. That's what it should mean.
I guess. I mean, you're not really tossing him from anything at that point. You're tossing him out of a
go hit the showers.
An emptying ballpark. That's basically what it is. Like, go enjoy with the rest of the players in the locker room and suffer over this loss. I mean, that's about all you can do. You can't really manage the team because they're not playing anymore.
Yeah, you don't get to talk to your team after this game. You're out of here. Go to your car.
I don't know about that. Yeah.
What you have to love about the walk-off walk is Arias was down 0-2.
Yeah.
And then he worked the count, and he got 4 straight balls. And he gets walked. Aroldis Chapman standing on there looking like an idiot. Because he's an idiot. And I don't have any qualms saying that. If you put your hands on a woman, you're an idiot. I'm also just an all-world piece of trash. So anytime that Aroldis Chapman is on the mound, befuddled at how he just gave up the game-winning run. Like, if you ever watch him when he's on the mound and he gives up a walk-off home run, especially in the playoffs, he always smiles.
Oh, yeah, he does.
He always smiles.
He'll lick his lips, too.
Because he's an idiot. Because he thinks that he's so good.
Yeah.
That he's so untouchable, that he's so otherworldly with pitching that nobody can touch him.
Probably not a lot going on upstairs.
So when they do hit him and they do score runs off of him, all he can do is smile because he's like, that didn't just happen. It's like he doesn't believe it just happened. He's like, I get to try again.
I threw 105 in 2013. I'm a god, is basically what this guy is.
That doesn't count. You're going to let me do that again, bro. Like, get that ball back from that fan in the stands 417 feet away and let me try this again.
Yeah.
It doesn't count.
Well, there's the famous clip of him in the Astros series from the playoffs a few years ago where he was licking his lips and smiling. I think it was Altuve, maybe Correa, one of the Astros.
Oh, it was definitely Altuve.
Altuve hit a homer off him. And he's just like smiling, standing there. And
he's like, here.
It's like,
he sticks the glove up. Like,
yeah.
Let's just throw another pitch.
Licks his lips. It's weird. It's weird. Go watch it if you haven't seen it.
No, I've definitely seen it.
Oh, I know you have. I'm just saying to the viewers.
Yeah, you gotta love it. And Aaron Boone. And look, I get it. The umpire was terrible. The home plate umpire. What was his name? I don't even know his name.
No idea. Did not pay attention to that.
He shouldn't be here. There were pitches. One pitch to the next. It could have been the exact same location. One time it's a ball, one time it's a strike.
Yeah.
And Cedric Mullins is a perfect. Was it Cedric Mullins? Perfect example. He's at the plate. Two pitches are clearly out of the strike zone, and he calls them strikes.
Yeah.
Then a pitch that's in the strike zone. No. I'm sorry. Brian Baker was pitching, and two balls that are clearly in the strike zone. He calls them balls. So it's 2-0. Then on 2-0, he throws a pitch that's 6 inches off the plate, and he calls it a strike. And you're sitting there, and you're like, and even Ben McDonald goes, the one that was actually outside the strike zone is the only one that he called a strike here.
Yeah.
It was so egregiously bad. It was laughable. It was absolutely laughable. Anyway, Orioles pick up the win. Ramon Reyes drawing the game-winning walk. Again, 10 walks from the team last night. That's what you like to see. But again, 1 for 15 with runners in scoring position.
Yeah.
That ain't good.
I was looking for an umpire scorecard, by the way. Not been released yet, but if it comes out on this show, we will talk about that.
I haven't seen any of those umpire scorecards yet this year.
Yeah, it's an account on Twitter called @UmpScorecards. So they're good. They have a lot of data behind that. It's always interesting to see for me.
I've seen them in the past, and they have like the 3 worst calls, the 3 best calls.
Exactly. Yeah.
I've definitely seen.
I'm
them
assuming
in the
those
past.
Brian Baker ones were among the worst.
But he's been so good. Even Joey Crable, who was terrible for the Orioles last year. Has been really good.
Yeah.
Now, you also, how many of these guys are going to be an Adam Plutko situation where they're really good the first month, and then after that, they just completely
And not only that, I mean, these guys are going to be gassed by June. That's just the harsh reality of it, because the Orioles have now lost John Means, which we haven't even gotten to yet, and they have a worsened starting rotation, and they're not going to get as many innings out of the guys they're throwing out there now. Of course, you're not going to get as many innings out of Spencer Watkins as you would John Means. He's going to go 3-4 innings.
What more are you trying to glean from Spencer Watkins? What are you looking at that makes you think that this guy is a major league pitcher?
I think it's embarrassing.
Is it because he has an arm tattoo? He's a cool guy. Let's put him out there.
D.L. Hall has an arm tattoo too, so that means
but he's
they're the
actually
same.
good.
That means they're the same.
They are same.
That's how the Orioles view it, I guess.
Anyway, we got to move on. We got to move on because we got to get Stan here on the line in a few minutes. Let's move down on the farm because we haven't really talked about the minor leagues yet this season. Norfolk last night, they're on fire. 7-3. They win last night 14-7. Kyle Stowers, 4 for 5. 3 doubles.
He's back.
A home run, a walk, 5 RBIs. He's batting .533 this year with a 1917 OPS. In 15 at-bats, he has 5 doubles and 2 home runs.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be a guy that lasts very long in the minor leagues. I don't think. I mean, not if you're obviously that pace won't keep up, but I expect him to hit around 280 this year and hit 15 homers, 20 homers before he gets to Baltimore. And maybe if he even gets that much time down there, I don't know. But could be a guy who hits 5 homers and he's in Baltimore. I don't know what the Orioles timeline looks like.
The issue
with
here
him.
is that they like what they're getting out of Santander.
They do.
They like the defense from Austin Hayes, and they know he's going to hit. Obviously, they love Cedric Mullins, and they're not going to bring Kyle Stowers up to be a fourth outfielder.
Oh no, he's a starter, right?
He's an everyday player.
Yeah.
Now, so does that mean you have to wait for it? You don't want an injury. Are you waiting for an injury? Because otherwise, they're not getting rid of any of those guys until they, in my opinion, inevitably trade Anthony Santander.
Well, that's going to happen.
And for the Orioles, the hot start that he's gotten off to is so huge for them because they can definitely there will be a suitor.
Right.
For Santander. You're still not going to get a ton for him, but he's 26, 27. He's under team control. He's a switch hitter who's a former Gold Glove finalist.
Power
in right
from both
field.
sides, yeah.
Yeah, this is a guy who you can get something for. We
Sure.
don't know how much, and there are teams like the Marlins who need outfielders and Cleveland who needs outfielders.
Right.
They can maybe trade you. Maybe you can get Nolan Jones,
Sure, maybe.
God, I wish we had Nolan Jones.
He's a good talent. Had a bit of a worse year than last year than previous years, but he's certainly still one of the top talents.
And he's one of those guys
system.
that I had my eyes on years ago.
Sure,
We were talking about trading Manny Machado when we knew he was going to be traded.
Mm-hmm.
But so it might be that you don't see Kyle Stowers till July.
Yeah,
Now,
that's possible.
If everybody stays healthy, that's a big if because because Austin Hayes has had a history of injuries.
Yep.
And Anthony Santander has had a history of injuries. You never and case in point, you mentioned John Means. John Means has had a history of injuries, and he has another injury right now, which we didn't get to in the intro, but we are going to talk about it in the Orioles Banter.
Okay.
It's something we need to talk about.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kyle Stowers not doing himself quite the service by starting out the way he has, and he missed 4 or 5 games down there after getting hit in the hand by a pitch. I think it may have been actually like 6 or 7 games. He's only played, I think, 4 games.
Yeah, you said 15 at bats. I think that sounds about right. But it's good to see him come back from that hand injury and the short hand injury. That concerned me a little bit. I'm just gonna say that when you get hit in the hand, that's always a little bit concerning. So I'm glad to see him come back and start raking.
Oh, absolutely. And Tyler Nevin, everybody loves this guy. I'm not sold on him.
I don't love him.
I'm not sold on him, but everybody acts like, oh, they can get rid of the Trey Mancini. Not everybody, but people that say that we can get rid of Trey Mancini, they're like, oh, because we have Tyler Nevin. It's like
not the same.
Yeah, it's not the same. But he went 3 for 6 with 8 RBIs last night.
Yeah.
He had a grand slam, a 2-run double, an RBI single, and an RBI ground out.
Yeah.
The guy, he's not doing himself a disservice either. Moving down to Bowie. Bowie wins 6-2. Adam Hall 1 for 3, 2 walks. He got 375 batting average. Toby Welk, second straight game with a home run. J.D. Mundy 4 for 4 with a home run and 2 RBIs. Joey Ortiz 2 hits. In Aberdeen wins 8-7. Kobe Mayo with a double. Ramon Rodriguez 2 for 4. Brandon Young 5 innings pitched, 1 earned run. And in Delmarva, they were the only affiliate yesterday to lose. Damn you, Delmarva. They lost 4-3. Daryl Hernandez 1 for 3, a walk and 2 stolen bases. Davis Tavares 1 for 4 with 2 RBIs.
Brandon Young, by the way, very underrated pitching prospect.
There's a lot of people talk about the cupboard is bare after Grayson Rodriguez and DL Hall. It's not bare.
There's just not that top talent behind them. What I think those people mean.
But how many farm systems have 4, 5?
No, not
top
many.
100 arms.
Not many. But I think the difference is between the Orioles and those organizations is that the Orioles do not have anything realistically at the major league level right now besides John Means, who might get Tommy John, as we're going to talk. There's always a possibility of that.
I don't know that many teams have more than 1 or 2. Like the teams that do are the teams that are going to the playoffs and winning the World Series.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Okay,
yeah.
It's not like we're talking about 25 teams have 3 really good starters. No, like 8 teams have 3 really good starters and then 2 middling starters. Like, unless you're the Dodgers or the Padres. The Padres, God, man, they see a guy they want. Like, we're gonna go trade for. We're getting that. Sean Manaea, yup. Yu Darvish, yup.
And that strategy hasn't exactly been effective.
It has been this year.
I mean, so far
they're pitching their tails off this year. By the way, Manny Machado has 8 hits his last 2 games.
Yeah, Manny Machado. He started a little slow, and then he's been. I think he had a 5-hit game 2 nights ago.
He went 5 for 6 the other night. He went 3 for 4 last night. I love Manny. I love him.
Oh yeah.
I wish he were still here. But I mean, you look at Drew Rom, Gene Pinto's on his way up. Kyle Bradish,
Zach
Peak, Brandon Young. There are guys that I think can be major league starters. Not everybody needs to be a number 1 or a number 2.
No.
You need 3s, 4s, and 5s in your rotation. If you can give me a guy who goes 6 innings allowing 3 runs, that's a 4 or a 5 who is fine for me, especially this day and age when if a starter goes 5, it's considered a thing. Like what the hell happened? Where did baseball go that we're okay with letting a starter goes 5 innings? Hey, he gave his team a chance to win.
Well,
he threw 110 pitches in 5 innings. What are you talking about?
I think from the Orioles' perspective, 5 innings with somewhat decent pitching is a win for them. But for other teams, certainly not. I mean, I don't think the Dodgers want to be only getting 5 innings out of Julio Urias and Walker Buehler.
No, absolutely. But you also have to look at where we are in the season. I'm not talking about where we are right now because it's expected a quick ramp up in spring training. That's why they gave you the extra 2 men on the roster so that you can get 2 extra pitchers. But I'm talking about in July when a guy goes 5 innings of 2-hit ball and he's throwing 102 pitches and he's out of the game. It's like he gave his team a chance to win. Yeah, Technically, you're right, but
Gave the bullpen a harder job too.
Exactly,
Got to remember that.
Exactly.
So.
You got to. If I'm managing a baseball team, my guys have to be able to consistently go 6 innings. You have to go 6 innings.
I would agree.
And I want every third start you're going 7 or 8. You have to be able to do that for me.
All right, yeah, I don't think that's the way today's game is set up, but unfortunately, that's just kind of the way it is. Guys just don't do that anymore, and I don't. Maybe it's arm care. I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, and that is half the league throws 95 plus, more than half the league, and a third of the guys throw 100. So you're telling me there's not enough that they're not trying to manage arms because of the torque. And then when you throw a 92-mile-an-hour slider, you have all this breaking stuff. You're throwing things where you're a right-handed guy and you're twisting your hand to the right side. Tell me that doesn't put stress on your elbow. I understand why they do it, but I also think that a guy like DL Hall, some of the reasons why he had the issues with his elbow last year, and he even admitted, he said, I walk guys because I'm going for the strikeout. It's not that I don't have command and can't throw strikes. It's that I'm going for the strikeouts. So at times he's trying to get people to chase his pitch. But you can't tell me that the elbow issues didn't happen from him trying to throw 100 on every pitch.
That's definitely why it happened.
That
is definitely why it happened.
It's like you have 4 pitches that you can throw for strikes.
Sure.
You can take it to 97 and still be really freaking effective.
Yeah.
If you're averaging 95 to 97 on your fastball instead of 98 to 101, that you can be really effective. That's still really hard. You're still a flamethrower.
Sure.
And you're taking some of the stress off your elbow just by going down 2 or 3 miles per hour on your average pitch. But anyway, with that in mind, I want to talk to Stan because, Stan, first and foremost, good morning. How are you this weekend?
Good morning. Good morning, guys. What pitcher are you talking about?
Talking about DL Hall. We were talking about how I would like to see pitchers that, if I'm a manager, my starting pitchers have to be able to give me 6 innings every time out. You're not always going to, but you have to have that ability to give me 6 innings every time out. And on every third or fourth start, 7 or 8. And we were talking about DL Hall, and the reason that his elbow got hurt last year is because it seemed like he was trying to throw 100 miles an hour on every pitch. And your arm just can't withstand that if you're going to be a starting pitcher. Am I right?
Sounds plausible to me.
Yeah. Now, Stan, we're talking about moving on to other things, and the pitching has a lot to do with it. The Orioles, their team ERA right now, 3.19 through 7 games. Look, it's a small sample size, but you have to love what you've been seeing out of the bullpen what you worry about is that they're going to get taxed. Because this is what happened last year, where they started the year out really strong, and then they fell apart because their starters just weren't getting deep. And it all comes full circle. It all goes together. But you have a bunch of no-name guys like Brian Baker and Cionel Perez and Joey Crable that are just out there getting outs night in and night out. This has to be far exceeding your wildest expectations for this team.
Well, they're doing a terrific job, but you hit the nail on the head. It's not sustainable when they're pitching that many innings.
No, it absolutely isn't. Now, the Orioles...
I mean, I'll give credit where credit is due that Mike Elias went out and Sig and found a couple of interesting arms. Clearly, that's why they felt comfortable with, the Seltzer-Scott trade, that they felt were well fortified there. But I don't know how you could have looked at this starting rotation and what you had and when, where you wanted Grayson Rodriguez to come into play, and if DL Hall's healthy and if Kyle Bradish is pitching well. But aside from those 3 things, how you could have felt that a rotation of Means, who gets hurt every year, okay, so to thought you could have counted on him for 140, 150 innings, to me is kind of sheer folly. Lyles definitely is a 170 to 185 inning guy. You have reason to expect that. But after that, where did they think the starting pitching was going to be? I mean, I think in all due respect to Mike Elias, I think that having Spencer Watkins starting Game 5 has got to be a low point of his tenure here. Having him starting Game 5 of the season in his 4th season, that's pathetic.
Yeah, I don't understand what more they need to glean from the Spencer Watkins experience. What did they see from last year and from spring training this year that leads them to believe that this guy should be on a major league roster?
Well, what they saw was he went to work pretty hard at one of these academies, trying to uptick his fastball. But again, that's if he upticks and you get the best case scenario out of him, he's like your seventh or eighth guy in the bullpen. He's
Right.
not your fifth game 5 starter that you can't get through the rotation one time before you're scrambling.
Right.
I mean, it's really, it's
Well,
and
that's
I get they don't want to come out. It doesn't do them any good to come out and say, "Man, guys, we're really strapped for cash." Okay, but that's a really bad look to have Watkins starting that game, and then the double down on it means getting hurt in his second start of the season.
Stan, I texted Paul when the Tanner Scott and Cole Salser trade went down, and I said, I legitimately don't know
Paul,
how. We're talking Paul Valley right here, yeah.
This Paul, okay.
Yeah, this Paul. that I didn't think the Orioles were realistically going to have enough pitching to get through this season in any way possible. I just don't see it because you traded away your two really most consistent relievers who are going to give you innings and not be pulled early from their starts and tax the bullpen, or not from their starts, but from their outings, and not tax the bullpen more. And now you look at John Means getting hurt. You look at Spencer Watkins for some reason, being the 5 starter, maybe being able to give you 3
Dean
or 4.
Kramer got hurt.
Dean Kramer also
That's
did
why.
get hurt. But Watkins is going to give you, 3 or 4 innings. How are the Orioles going to have enough pitching?
What were you counting on Dean Kramer to give you this?
Oh, I wasn't really counting on much from him either.
Did you think, based on what you've seen since his major league debut, that he's a guy that they could have felt comfortable counting on as a starting pitcher?
No,
absolutely,
no.
Absolutely not. It's like in golf, just saying tee it high and let it fly. You got to hit it and hope.
Yeah.
With this situation, it's they were hoping that they would get more of the Dean Kramer from his first few starts in 2020 instead of the guy that they got for however many starts last year.
Where was that a smart baseball move? Seriously, we're sort of judging. I'm giving Mike and Sig and company great credit for what the arms that they've picked up and assembled in the bullpen.
Right.
But do they deserve great credit or even any credit for what they've picked up in rotation help?
Well, no, and there were
and
then
guys you're
out
looking
there.
at two of the most valuable arms, and you're looking at having to ramp them up this year, where they've been babied for the last couple of years. That all of a sudden you're going to bring them up and they're going to be 3-inning, 4-inning major league starters. That again is slaughtering your bullpen.
Yeah.
So my advice would be go out and get 3 or 4 more arms that can be bullpen arms, because you will run through these guys.
Every guy.
I don't know when it'll be, but they will be taxed pretty heavily.
Every guy that's put on waivers, they should put a claim in. I mean, it doesn't matter who it is. You just got to get fresh arms in here. I just don't see how you make it.
I mean, seriously, last year when we analyzed Tanner Scott's year, what impacted the pandemic season and then how poor the starting pitching was last year? How did that impact Tanner Scott's performance last year?
Oh, yeah.
That he went from probably 20 innings the year before to being like 65, 70 innings, but being up all the time. Guys, when we talk about a reliever, he threw 50, 60 games. How many other games was he up? Those guys were up and taxed. They were gassed by August 1st last year, the bullpen.
Yeah, they I think they were taxed before that. I mean, you saw the dramatic fall off from Paul Fry and then Tanner Scott, because, like you said, up so much he ends up hurting his knee, and he went from being a 2.5 pitcher in July to the rest of the year. His ERA balloons up close to 6 because of just how much he was being used. You're absolutely right. And then you look at the guys who are performing well down there. But realistically, how much can you really expect them to help you when they get here? Look, and you believe that you have great arms in Grayson Rodriguez and DL Hall, and everything Grayson Rodriguez has done at Norfolk this year,
proven that
has been phenomenal. It proves that stuff-wise, he's probably
major
league ready.
He's a potential beast.
Yeah, he's probably major league ready. But five innings pitched, and he only throws 67 pitches, and they pull him out of the game. And I get it.
Right.
It's just his second start, but if he's at 67 pitches, why not let him go out there and throw 13 more pitches, get up to 80?
I really want to see this guy throw 6 or 7. I mean, we haven't seen it yet.
And that's to your point, Stan, that they're babying these guys. How much can you really expect out of them when they aren't getting the opportunity to stretch their arms out a little bit further?
Yeah, I again, everything Grayson Rodriguez has done throughout his career is terrific. But again, when you're talking about having an ace starter, how does he adjust? How does he work through facing hitters the third time?
Right.
Okay? Because right now he's facing the lineup once and a half. That's kind of what he's done. So these guys aren't getting part of the lineup probably doesn't even bat twice against him, and certainly none of the hitters hit him 3 times in a game. That's where I want to see how is he when he's facing hitters 3 times, because that gets you through 6.5, 7 innings.
Yeah,
right.
No. Six and a half. That gets you through the 7th inning.
Right, and we have no reason to believe that he can't do it, other than the fact that he just never has.
Right.
Right. Exactly.
And that's not his fault.
Exactly.
They've never let him do it.
Right.
But what we have seen is he went 4 innings. His first start, 61 pitches. His second start, he goes 5 innings, 67 pitches. You can see a slow ramp up there, and I think that they know that they're going to need this guy probably for the bulk of the season this year at the major league level. And they're probably going to need Kyle Bradish, and they're going to need DL Hall. So it's just a slow ramp up. And Kyle Bradish just got to Norfolk after having to stay down in Sarasota to get his innings up. Same thing with DL Hall. He hasn't gone to Bowie yet, but they're going to need a lot of innings out of these guys, and they got to figure out a way to ramp them up and how to ramp them up and how to get them here. But look, Stan, doesn't matter how well you pitch if you can't hit. And the Orioles right now, they're getting on base. They're not doing much else. 1 for 15 last night with runners in scoring position. They are 6 for 70 with something like 35 strikeouts with runners in scoring position this year. I have never seen anything like this. Is there anything that you remember in your 40-plus years of covering the Orioles that has been remotely like this?
Yeah, I'm sure there have been times where for a 7-game stretch it's been that bad, but it's been awful to watch.
I guess it's more noticeable because it's the start of the year. If this was a swoon in July, you wouldn't think twice about it. You'd notice it, but it's the start of the year, and it was what hampered them last year. They were second worst in all of baseball, batting .232 with runners in scoring position last year, and they're not even batting a third of that right now.
Right.
It's just been bad. Now, they do get that win last night. Ramon Arias gets the walk-off walk against the Yankees and against Aroldis Chapman, which we were all happy to see, especially with Chapman on the mound. And I do have to say, Stan, the team has walked 30 times in the last 5 games. It seems like, and Zach pointed this out, like maybe they made that an emphasis in spring training and during the offseason. Like, we need better plate discipline. We need guys who are getting on base. They walked 10 times last night.
Yeah, I'm sure that's something that they have emphasized, but by the same token, the strikeouts are there at terrible numbers right now.
Yeah, no.
It's just an offense that, again, it's going to be a far different offense 2 years from now when guys like Colton Cowser and Kyle Stowers are in the lineup,
Statter, are you familiar with the stat weighted on base average?
I've heard it. Run it by me real quick.
So it's basically the quality of contact plus strikeouts plus walks. That's how they calculate it. Don't ask me how they actually make these numbers, but they calculate it, and you come out to a number. Santander is actually, unsurprisingly, I guess, leading the Orioles right now with a weighted on-base average of 467. In the bottom of it is Rougned Odor with 265, Jorge Mateo at 283. There's some guys that are these are really bad numbers. These are way below, Major League average and way below where
what's
they
a
should
good
be.
weighted on-base average?
Around like the upper threes is where you want to be.
And that's interesting.
And he's at 467
Santander
right
has
now,
a 465?
467 right now.
467, and that would be considered sort of elite or very high?
That is very, very high, yeah. That is excellent. And Trey
my
Mancini,
eyeballs haven't been trained yet for weighted on base.
So
he looks like he's been like almost like an anchor in this lineup.
Yeah, he definitely has been good. But my point of this actually was
no, I'm saying just the opposite. My eyeballs have been telling me that he's not doing much, and that's interesting that he's doing. What's he batting on regular on batting average?
I think he's
and
around
on base percentage
in the 300s at the moment.
His on base percentage leading into the Yankees series was something like 667.
His on base percentage was 660.
Yeah, he had a good start to the year.
Yeah, he's walked 6 times already this year.
Okay.
So my question was actually about Rougned Odor, because if you look at a stat called expected weighted on base average, which actually uses more mathematical terms to really put out what what their expected on base average should be, and Rougned Odor is by far the lowest of all the Orioles at 203, which is absolutely putrid. That's terrible. Have you already seen enough of Rougned Odor? You look at the numbers, you look at some of these advanced statistics, and they all say that Rougned Odor is still a bad baseball player. Have you seen enough already through 7 games?
I may not know what weighted on base percentage is or weighted on base average is, but I saw enough of Rougned Odor the last couple of years. I follow these things clearly not as closely as a Mike Elias or Sig Mejdal. My guess is they thought they saw something in him that they said, well, first of all, price tag, that he would want to come here. So that's number one, because nobody else was going to be sort of, you didn't see like the Tigers and the Royals and the Indians going after him.
Yeah.
You saw the Orioles going after him. My guess is they felt that he could be part of with the fact that Mateo and Urias aren't durable players yet, where you can count on them for 140 games, that they thought Odor was a good player that could sort of play a little bit of third base and some second base against right-handed pitching. That's my guess what they expected to use him for. But as it's not surprising, he has certainly not exceeded anyone's expectations.
Oh yeah, I was surprised to see him get 3 straight starts after opening day, and then Calvin Gutierrez has basically become a non-factor on this team. And his at-bats, he's 0 for 7 this year, I think, with 4 strikeouts.
Why did he start on opening day, though? That's the confusing thing to me.
Because they were facing the lefty.
Oh, you're right. Right.
Because they were facing the lefty, and they weren't going to bat Odor against that. But they and you have to look at the fact that Arias and Mateo don't have a track record. They've never played 100 games in a season. And when they got close to that last year, they ended the season with injuries, like you said, Stan. So these are guys that don't have track records. At least Odor has proven that he has durability. He can hit the ball out of the ballpark.
He's a decent defender at second base. So do they have any stardust in their eyes that they certainly were going to unlock something and get that on base percentage like to over 300? I mean, this is a guy the last 3 or 4 years. His on base percentage is like in the 260s and 270s. Am I right?
Yeah. I think more like 280s, 290s, but it's still not great.
But his batting average has been like 180 to 210 or something like that.
Right.
I mean, he's just really one of the worst offensive players in baseball over the last 3 or 4 years.
Oh, he absolutely.
His biggest hit of his recent career was punching Jose Bautista at second base. That was his biggest hit.
Right. Yeah, he had his last 4 seasons, like 4 full seasons, he had on base percentages of like 286, 284, 291, and this year it's something like
I mean, that's like a whole. I used to complain seriously when I want to win a championship. I complained that that the difference between Adam Jones and Frank Robinson was like, 8 hits and 15 walks a year, and you're Frank Robinson. But
right.
Adam Jones was what he was. He was a 315, 318 on-base percentage player. And I used to complain about that's the kind of players we had. This is like a quantum leap backwards in sort of what you're aspiring to do.
Right.
It was a mind-numbing decision to me to pick the guy up.
Well, and trust me, I never understood the signing. I still don't understand the signing. But what I do look at is that a lot of these guys are basically placeholders. And I
Yeah,
think
there's no question about it.
yeah,
There's
and
no question about it.
I think
And I think I accurately said why he was here on the first go around. We're sort of talking way too much about Rougned Odor,
yeah.
but I think it had to do with the lack of durability with Mateo and Urias,
Yeah.
and that they didn't have like Terran Vavra hasn't, he's been a big disappointment to them. He hasn't grabbed anything, and that's been a disappointment.
Well, yeah, I mean, he got hurt last year and missed. I think he hurt his back last year, and he missed the majority of the season. He's off to a good start this year.
Right.
He's hitting something like 296. He's getting on base. He's stealing
Okay.
bases. He's off to a good start this year. So I think they
Well,
like
he would
that.
be the guy if Vavra was playing well and healthy at Norfolk. He'd be the guy, and we'd see Odor. Goodbye, Rougned.
Yeah, and I think that as soon as somebody takes a hold of, gets hot like a Terran Vavra at the minor leagues, that's when you're going to see them up here, and you'll see Odor showing the door. No pun intended. Before we let you go, another durability thing. Adley Rutschman, we were told 2 to 3 weeks. It's now been 5 weeks. It's been 5 weeks in a day since he strained his triceps. He's still not playing in any games. He's throwing. He's hitting. But they haven't brought him back up to Norfolk to play in any games yet. They keep saying he looks great, but Stan, when a 2 to 3 week injury becomes a 5 to 6 to 7 week injury, is there reason for concern here? Or you think they're just slow playing him to make sure he's 100% before they bring him up?
I really can't speak to that because I don't have a long enough track record to know how truthful Elias is about things like this. This is a little bit alarming to me.
Yeah, I would say it's been 5 weeks he hasn't played.
Is it something more? Is it something that the shoulder isn't right and they're trying to get that right? Because this shouldn't have been. This was supposedly a tricep injury, correct?
Yeah, tricep strain.
I mean, that shouldn't be a 5 to 7 week injury.
You wouldn't think. Now, of course, now that we're talking about it with concern, they'll probably announce later today that he'll be in Norfolk on Tuesday.
Right.
Right, because that's how it goes.
That would be pleasant.
You got.
I do believe. I honestly, though, do believe that if he had come into camp and not had any physical problems, I believe he would have been on the opening day roster.
I've heard from a few people that was 100% the plan. That he was going to be the opening day catcher. Stan.
In fairness, again, in all fairness to Mike, because I try and paint the accurate picture, they have not gotten one bit of good luck on anything.
That's true. That is absolutely true. They need some balls to bounce their way for sure. Hopefully they get that later this year. Stan, you got Steve Johnson coming up on Monday, and then the Maryland.
I also have Steve Johnson. I'm doing with Ross Grimsley at 2:00. We adjusted our schedule because Steve teaches. His optimum baseball performance. He's teaching. He's heavy from 4:00 to 8:00. But at 3:00, I'm going to solo and do Thomas Kelso, the chairman of the Maryland Stadium Authority, talking about these new leases and these new bills that just passed at the end of the week last week.
Yeah, no, and that's super exciting because that was kind of the final step before getting to a new lease for this team, right? So
for both teams, both the Orioles and the Ravens.
Exactly, putting a ton of money into these stadiums. Stan, always a pleasure, man. You have a great
All
weekend.
Right.
Have a great Passover.
Week,
we'll talk to you soon.
Go O's. Bye.
Yes, sir. That was Stan the Fan Charles, who has 2 great shows for you every week. Every Monday night, Stan and former Orioles pitcher Ross Grimsley visit with a different guest from the world of baseball. And every Thursday night, Stan and Gary Stein chat with a different newsmaker from the world of sports. This week, Stan and Ross had a great chat with Orioles legend Ken Singleton, while Stan and Gary called up with author Jack Gilden to discuss his new book about Spectacular Bid. Find those shows under the videos tab at facebook.com/PressBoxSports or at PressBoxOnline.com/video. Like Stan just said, it's a busy Monday for him coming up. At 2 p.m., he and Ross Grimsley will catch up with former Orioles pitcher Steve Johnson. Then at 3 p.m., Stan's going to chat solo with the Maryland Stadium Authority chairman Tom Kelso about the future of M&T Bank Stadium and Camden Yards, which we just had him, Tom Kelso, on Glenn Clark Radio on Thursday. And let's talk about this for a second. Because we have a listener, we'll call him Saul Belvedere, who listens to this show and has been adamant that the Orioles intentionally are destroying Camden Yards so they can move the team to Nashville. It says that that there are former employees of the team who have told them that the Orioles want to move the team to Nashville, and the Orioles owners have a home in Nashville.
Okay.
Look, A, you have to have a stadium built. B, all you have to do is look down the east coast of Tampa Bay and see that they're winning 95 to 100 games every year and can't get 8,000 fans to show up to their games. None of the Orioles, A, were never going anywhere. B, they just signed into a bill, I believe it was HB 896 and 897, which is giving $1.2 billion, not million, $1.2 billion to the Maryland Stadium Authority to renovate Camden Yards and M&T Bank Stadium. Each stadium is getting $600 million. And what they're going to do is renovations to modernize the stadiums. They're going to have an opportunity to build almost like a Wrigleyville type of situation between the two ballparks. You already know that they have Topgolf and all this other stuff coming on to the south of the stadium. In between the two stadiums, they're probably going to put some stuff in there that's going to be really big for the community, really big for the stadium area. Now, if Saul wants to continue to complain, he can probably complain about the fact that it's public funding. So the money's coming from the taxpayers. Yeah. And that's what he's going to complain about. But what I will say is, would you rather have that or not have the team? Because it's either you do or you don't. Right.
This is a genuine question because I don't know. Do people in Baltimore City that are paying for these renovations, is that more than they would regularly be paying in their taxes, or is it just allocated elsewhere?
That I have no idea.
Okay.
That would be a great question for Tom Kelso.
Yeah.
Because we didn't ask him that. That's a great question to ask. But I know that $1.2 billion is the maximum that you can ask for on one of these loans. Now, the thing about these loans is that you're not going to get the loan unless they're confident that you're going to sign a lease. No lease, no loan. So they're not going to give the Orioles and the Ravens $600 million each to have them go away.
Sure.
Right?
No.
So this is a big step forward. If you watch the show The Dropout, where Amanda Seyfried plays Elizabeth Holmes, it's a whole thing. It's an inspiring step forward.
Oh yeah,
that's my Emily Holmes impression. Inspiring step forward.
I feel like you could do a good Owen Wilson. I don't know.
Wow.
There you go. There you go.
But yeah, so this is huge.
It is,
because basically what you're looking at is they're going to end up signing another 30-year lease. Another 30-year lease to keep the Orioles in Baltimore for at least the next 30 years. Probably well beyond that, unless Major League Baseball falls flat on its face. And that very well. I have friends who think that's going to happen, but neither here nor there. The Orioles are here and there. They're going to be in Baltimore for a long time, and they're going to have They already have a great stadium. There's going to be a ton of renovations, ton of stuff around. It's going to be a brand new, exciting experience down at the Camden Yards athletic facility. So it's certainly exciting and should squash all those people thinking that the Orioles are moving. Now, before we get to our first break, Zach, you have something you want to sound off on.
Yeah, so...
Hold on.
We're going to do a live read first.
Well, what we're going to do
is presented.
We are going to tell you that Sounding Off with Zach Goodman is brought to you by your local Toyota dealer. Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you, Zach Goodman. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today. And like I said, Sounding Off with Zach Goodman brought to you by your local Toyota dealer.
All right, so I want to talk about Mauricio Dubon. He is a infielder for the Giants who... He also plays a little bit of center field, too. He moves around. Pretty versatile guy that's been in their organization since 2019. He came over from Milwaukee a few years ago. He's 27 years old, a guy that hasn't really been able to prove himself much in the majors. He hasn't really been able to hit a lot. He just hasn't really cemented a spot with the Giants yet, but he has been on their team now. This is obviously his fourth year with the team, so clearly they like him for some reason, but he only plays 50 to 70 games a year because he's a utility guy, and that's what he does. So this guy the other day in a Padres game lays down a bunt when the Padres are losing 9-0. Bob Melvin comes out of the dugout furious. I mean, just absolutely hot, furious that Mauricio Dubon shouldn't be able to lay down.
Bob Melvin is so hot right now.
He shouldn't be able to lay down a bunt single in a game that the Giants are already winning 9-0. Now, This is one of the unwritten rules in baseball. We've heard about a lot about these unwritten rules over the past few years. You remember it from an Orioles perspective when Chance Sisco did it against the Twins a few years ago. I believe
2018.
2018.
It was when
yeah,
we thought they were still good.
right. And Brian Dozier was furious that Chance Sisco could ever lay down a bunt in a game that the Orioles were winning and all of that. And there are a lot of these situations that happen every year. But I think this is the stupidest thing of all time, right? Like, I cannot understand why Mauricio Dubon, who is fighting for his career, trying to make a name for himself, maybe he wants to start for the Giants one day, isn't allowed to do his job. He's a hitter. He goes up there to hit the ball. He laid down a bunt, he got on base. Getting on base is Mauricio Dubon's job. I don't understand why we have to have these unwritten rules that tell us we can't do these little things because it's running up the score or whatever. He's going to go to arbitration in a few years. He's still pre-arb eligible, but he's going to go to arbitration in a few years, and they're going to look at his batting average and all of those archaic numbers, and they're going to say, you know,
I hate the people.
Well, it's not archaic, but it's just not like the advanced. They still use these RBIs and home runs and batting average in the arbitration process.
Scoring runs and getting base hits is how you win baseball games. Right. It's not archaic, and it will never be archaic.
Well, okay, maybe the wrong use of words. But it's not
a bunch of nerds got together in the room and said, hey, we want to feel like we're part of this.
But my point is that they're going to look at his batting average in arbitration in a few years. So why should he not be allowed to make himself better and to get this higher batting average and get on base? That's his job. That's what he's up there for. If you're Bob Melvin, just stop, right? Like, if you don't want to be losing 9-0, don't be losing 9-0, right? Like, it's not Mauricio Dubon's fault.
I saw that in your notes. Mm-hmm. That's nice in theory.
I know, right, it's nice in theory,
but Bob Melvin's not the one who's out there losing 9-0. It's his pitchers and his hitters that didn't pitch and didn't hit, and that happens from time to time. What I will say is, if it's the 9th inning, I'd have more of an issue with this.
I don't have an issue with it.
If you're down in a game, if you're up in a game 9-0 in the 9th inning and you're laying down a bump base hit, there's really no.
But it's his job.
Yeah, no.
His job's to get on base. He's a hitter.
Not when you're up 9-0. No,
I disagree.
Hey, nobody's telling you not to swing and not to try and get a base hit. Nobody's telling you not to do that. All right. Nobody's telling you, just let him throw 3 down the middle and don't swing. Nobody's saying that. What we're saying is, you're kind of throwing salt and lemon in a wound when you're up 9-0 in the 9th inning and you're laying down a bump base hit. There is nobody, including Gabe Kapler, that can defend that. And Gabe Kapler didn't go out and yell at his team. He was yelling at Dubon, "Great job." And Gabe Kapler,
people misinterpret it.
Yeah,
and
Gabe Kapler came
clarified.
out. And this was in the 6th inning.
Yeah,
we just saw the Dodgers score 8 runs in the 8th inning the other day. 9-0 in the 6th inning, that game ain't over. In the 9th inning, that game's basically over.
Right.
In the 6th inning, the game ain't over yet. You have no idea what's going to happen the rest of this game. And Kapler made one of the best points that I've never heard a manager say, and I'm so glad he said it. And what he said was, we're trying to see as many pitchers as we can so that we can tax them and have a better chance to win tomorrow.
Sure, yeah. All right, I know. It's
nobody can argue with that.
No, nobody can argue
Bob
with that.
Melvin is one of the best managers in baseball. He can't argue with that.
No, he can't argue that.
It's an excellent point. They're trying to see more pitchers, and so that they can have a better opportunity to win the game the next day.
Yeah,
I'm okay with it.
Yeah,
I'm 100% okay. If it was the 9th inning, I'm not okay with it.
I still think it's his job. He's trying to make it.
No, it's your job to go up there and try to put and hit.
Yeah,
and hit. Bunting ain't hitting.
Line drive in the books, though. It's a line drive in the books.
Bunting ain't hitting. And Bunting,
I disagree.
In the 9th inning, up 9, go ahead and play in a baseball league.
Well, I played baseball for a while.
Right. You don't play anymore.
No.
Go ahead and play on a baseball team. And in the 9th inning, when your team is up 9-0, if your team is up 6-0, go ahead and lay down a bunt and see what both teams say to you. And tell me that when you're in the situation, that you would have the gall to get in the batter's box and lay down a bunt.
But it's his career. My point is, it's his career.
It's pathetic.
This is what he's getting paid to do.
You're getting paid. Nobody's telling you to give up your bat. You're trying to get on base for literally no reason. When you're up 9-0 in the 9th inning, 2 different things. In the 6th inning, up 9-0, I get it. In the 9th inning. And I'm telling you, man, you're saying it from an outside perspective. There is no way that you would feel comfortable going into a bat in the 9th inning up 9-0 with laying down. You would not feel comfortable with it. I know the type of person you are. You would not do it. And if I saw
I don't
you
know
do
what that
it,
means, but
it means you're a good dude.
yeah, I just think that
You wouldn't do it. I'm telling you right now.
But also,
wouldn't.
I wouldn't be getting paid.
Zach,
I wouldn't be getting paid over $500,000 to do that.
In the ninth inning,
Mm-hmm.
it's pathetic because you're not doing anything to win the game. You're doing something to pad your own stats. In the ninth inning, and that bunt single in 3 years when you hit arbitration, they're not even going to think about that. And if they do, they're going to think about it negatively. Like, what the hell was this guy thinking?
I disagree.
Zach, I'm telling you right now.
We can agree to disagree here.
In the ninth inning, that's what people say when they don't have a better argument. In the ninth inning,
I've made my argument.
Your argument is stupid.
I'm standing strong on this one.
In the ninth inning, bunting for a base hit up by that many runs, it's pathetic. Sixth inning, different ball game. Ninth inning, it's pathetic. We got to get a break. When we come back, Press Box's own Matt Kremnitzer is going to join us. Just want to remind you that the Bat Around is brought to you today by the Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover. Sports fans, the wait is over. The all-new FanDuel Sportsbook is now open at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. You can bet on every sport with 61 self-service kiosks, open 24/7, and watch all the action from the best seat in the house. Plus, join Press Box's Glenn Clark and the NFL chick Sarita Hubbard in the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel for the first round of the NFL Draft on Thursday, April 28th. They'll help you make some money betting the draft, and they'll have great giveaways for you throughout the night. Guarantee your spot by emailing events at sportssocialmd.com. That's events at sportssocialmd.com. We got to catch a break. When we come back, Matt Kremnitzer here on the Bat Around.
Hey, O's families, break out your orange and black for Kids Opening Day on April 17th, when the O's take on the New York Yankees. Be one of the first 7,500 fans 14 and under to receive an Orioles Pop-It toy. And after the game, kids are invited to take to the field and run the bases like the pros. All presented by Wise Markets. Plus, experience a family fun day at the yard with caricatures, the Easter Bunny, and more. Celebrate the 30th anniversary of Camden Yards with Kids Opening Day. Buy now at Orioles.com/kids.
Baseball is back, and so is the spring seasonal menu at Glory Days Grill. Start with the opener, flash-fried pork belly with our popular Korean No. 2 sauce, and take a bite out of the Crunch Burger, topped with home run sauce, white American cheese, and house-made chips. It also features irresistible options like a baseball-cut sirloin with blue cheese, grilled shrimp with garlic butter, and a strawberry salmon salad. And then there's the closer, the Cracker Jack Sundae with a waffle, ice cream, and Cracker Jacks. This menu will be gone at your neighborhood Glory Days Grill. GloryDaysGrill.com to find out more. Great food, good sports.
Hey guys, it's Paul Valley, and there's a new era of Glenn Clark Radio as I've joined Glenn every weekday from 10 a.m. to noon. There will be some changes, but what won't change is the absolute best daily discussion of Baltimore sports.
He's Coach Kevin Willard.
Glenn, thanks for having me, and great talking to you.
New Baltimore Ravens wide receiver, Rashad Bateman.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
He is outfielder Cedric Mullins.
Thank you guys for having me.
Trey Mancini.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Mr. Marcus Williams, who's now with us.
Man, I appreciate it. Happy to be on. Happy to talk with you guys.
Ravens kicker Justin Tucker.
Thanks for having me.
Adley Rutschman.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
John Angelos.
Thanks a lot. Good to be with you.
Ryan Mountcastle.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Marlon Humphrey.
Thank you.
Quarterback for the University of Maryland, Talia Tungavailoa.
Thank you guys for having me.
He is J.K. Dobbins.
Thank you for having me. I had a great time.
The great Ray Lewis.
Always good to be on.
He is Mr. Cal Ripken Jr.
Good chatting with you.
You can watch us live at facebook.com/PressBoxSports or listen at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. And podcasts are available on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
The Toyota Tacoma comes in a wide range of models and trim lines. You can choose the perfect Toyota to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today.
Stan the Fan here, welcoming back one of my favorite sponsors, the Costas Inn. And everybody around Baltimore knows the Costas Inn is a great place to go and grab crabs, steaks, salads, soups, whatever's on your mind to eat in person. But did you know that the Costas Inn has upped their game? They are now one of the premier takeout places in Baltimore. Give them a call now to order your food, 410-477-1975. That's the Costas Inn over 4100 North Point Boulevard.
Sports fans, the wait is over. The all-new FanDuel Sportsbook is now open at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. This is your chance to win big right in your own backyard. Bet on every sport with self-service kiosks and watch all of the action from the best seat in the house. Make every moment more at the all-new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
Back here on the Bat Around, hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 brought to you by the Baltimore Police Department. Join a proud new generation of Baltimore police and make an active difference in your community. Start with competitive wages and excellent benefits on day one. Join for good at bpdrecruit.org. That's bpdrecruit.org. Joining us live now on the Bat Around. He writes for Pressbox about the Orioles. He is Matt Kremnitzer. Matt, good morning to you. Thanks for taking a few minutes for us today.
Good morning. How are you guys?
We're doing really well. We've been trying to talk to you. You've got kids and you've got a busy schedule, so we understand that. But we're finally glad to get you on here. Matt, you've been able to provide a bit of levity to being an Orioles fan with your sarcastic and tongue-in-cheek Twitter posts. Is that kind of your way of coping? Because I know when I'm pissed off, I'll be surfing Twitter and I'll see one of your posts that's very tongue in cheek and always gives me a good laugh.
Yeah, 100%. If I was serious all the time, I mean, some people take what I write 100% serious and they're asking me questions like confused about what I'm saying. But like if I wasn't able to joke about this team, especially over the last few years, I don't know if I'd make it out, still be a fan.
Yeah, it's been certainly difficult, and with that in mind, it hasn't been the best start to the season. We didn't expect greatness, though last night was pretty great. Are you one of those, as long as they beat the Yankees kind of guys, or is it just another game for you?
Kind of both. Like it's always amusing. One of the things that I like to do is after they beat the Yankees, just to go see pissed off fans for the Yankees. Some of the comments seem to be more amusing, than some of the other fan bases, but. I do enjoy that they beat the Yankees, but at this point, like you'll take any win that the Orioles can get.
Yeah, absolutely, and I agree with you on that one. It's so funny. No matter the time of year, it could be the first series of the season, it could be the last series of the season. Both teams out of playoff contention, and you'll see the Yankees fans saying this needs to be a series sweep. I saw that so many times, and then they lose the first game. It's certainly satisfying to say the least. Now the team has actually been a bit surprising for good and for bad. Through 7 games, the team ERA is 3.19. It's a small sample size, but isn't this the exact opposite of what we expected from this ball club?
Yeah, I did not think that the offense would struggle like this to start the season. I mean, we're only talking about 7 games, and, in a couple weeks, weird things can happen. You'd like to see some of the guys start to pick it up, and I'm sure they would say the same thing. But at the same time, the Orioles bullpen with some youngsters in there and some, unknown names, has actually been pretty good, and we'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah. Now you mentioned the bullpen. Tanner Scott, Cole Sulser, they're traded away to the Marlins, and we like the return that we got from them. But it's still a tough pill to swallow. Yet Elias looks like he knew exactly what he was doing, given how the bullpen has performed. You look at a guy like Cionel Perez, throws almost as hard as Tanner Scott, but he actually throws strikes. We know, again, small sample size, you even acknowledge the fact that you don't expect it to continue. But do you think that we have some quality big league relievers in that bullpen right now?
Yeah, I think a guy like Felix Bautista is pretty interesting. Cionel Perez has also done pretty well. I mean, we're talking about mid-April. Who knows as the innings start to pile up if these guys can keep it going with their workloads. But I do think that they have some interesting arms. Even someone like Mike Baumann, who hasn't thrown much yet. He was really impressive in his outing against the Brewers. Throwing upper 90s. Didn't always know where the ball was going, but it's nice to see some of their young prospects, who were starting pitchers, even if they're not going to be useful starting pitchers, still find a role in the bullpen and, find a way to contribute.
No, absolutely. And you mentioned Mike Baumann. Tyler Wells is going tonight against the Yankees. I would expect to see him be the guy that comes in. Just if I'm reading the tea leaves, I'm seeing how they used him on opening day. I kind of expect him to be the guy that would piggyback with Tyler Wells. Do you think that's the likely scenario for today?
For sure, yeah. I don't think they view Baumann, at least right now, as like a one-inning guy. I mean, if they can get 2 or 3 innings out of him, that's great. I know they're still building up Tyler Wells, too, and that experiment is still up in the air whether that's going to work or not. It's not very likely that he's going to go, maybe even 4 or 5 innings. Maybe he just does 3 if he can get there. So yeah, piggybacking those guys sounds good if you have enough of them who are useful and actually getting guys out.
No, absolutely. Now, it doesn't really matter how good you pitch if your team can't hit. The team is 6 for 70 with runners in scoring position after going 1 for 15 last night. Man, I have never seen anything like this. Are they just pressing? I feel like you could accidentally get more hits than that with runners in scoring position. Do you expect this to be a trend that continues, or do you expect them to kind of bust out of this thing eventually?
I think it's going to get better with runners in scoring position. I mean, it has to. But at the same time, I think the main issue is they're already kind of top heavy. They got Mullins and Mountcastle and Mancini and Urias at the top. Even someone like Hayes against left-handed pitching, like those are your main guys. And, really only 1 or 2 of those guys is hitting. And then at the bottom of the lineup, it's just not very good. I think that, the main problem is they just have the bottom of the lineup is not very good. Rushman's injured. You were hoping that maybe he'd start the season and show some promise, from the catcher position. And, they just need guys who are better, period. And it's not that surprising, especially at the bottom of the order is just not very good.
No, I absolutely agree with you. And you mentioned Adley Rutschman. A 2 to 3 week injury has now turned to 5 weeks and counting. They keep saying all the right things about him. Oh, he looks great. Oh, he's progressing really well. How well could he really be progressing if this injury is now taking twice as long as it was originally supposed to?
Yeah, I think they're being smart by being really cautious with him. Maybe it was worse than we were led to believe. The injury sounds kind of, a little bit scary for a catcher, so much throwing that a catcher does.
Right.
Any kind of injury really for a catcher's arms. But, it was at least a possibility that he wasn't going to start the season anyway with the team. So, they're really in no hurry to get him back. He would obviously help the team and give fans, fans a bone about having someone interesting to watch while some of the other prospects aren't quite ready yet. But yeah, I hope he's okay and he's able to debut, I guess, in early May.
Yeah, I was thinking the end of April for the start of the next homestand, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be on the cards because he hasn't even played in a game yet. So hopefully early May, and I think at this point early May would be a bonus because like we said, hasn't played yet. Now you mentioned Cedric Mullins a little bit earlier. Another 3 strikeout game for him last night. At least 2 strikeouts in every game but 2. He's batting 160 with 13 strikeouts and 30 at bats. What is your level of concern with Cedric Mullins?
It's still pretty low right now. You mentioned the strikeouts. Those are obviously concerning. It doesn't seem like he's making as much contact. He's only walked a couple times maybe. So he's not getting on base like the Orioles need him to and like he did last year. I still think he'll pick it up. I never really thought that he'd get to the level that he did last year.
Right.
Nobody thought that he'd be able to do that. I don't think many people even thought that he'd, be able to do that again. But I still think he can be useful. Maybe it's just a rough start to the season. He wasn't very good in the spring either. I don't know how many people look closely at those stats. I don't, for the most part, I kind of ignore them, but you kind of have to factor it in. And if he doesn't pick it up in the next few weeks, I really think there's some cause for concern there.
Yeah, I would you think that it would be a good idea to move him out of the leadoff spot, not for the year, but just for a little bit to kind of get him out of thinking he needs to be a table setter and let him just kind of get his swing back? Maybe move a guy like Austin Hayes or maybe even, well, I don't really know who else will profile there, but maybe move somebody else into the leadoff spot there.
Maybe if he's still struggling at the end of April, early May, even moving him down, like how far are you going to move him? Like even if you move him 3, 4, or 5, what are you going to put him in the bottom of the order? That I just don't see that happening unless things go completely off the rails. So I think it's a little bit too early, but if the strikeouts continue to pile up, he's not someone who can just start doing that. And that was kind of the concern with him before, last season. He struck out a lot. He wasn't really hitting for power at all. And he has to get on base and he has to showcase some of the, that home run power that he had last year.
Yeah, and maybe he needs to lay down a drag bunt here or there, try and beat some things out to kind of get that confidence up to say, oh yeah, I can do this at the major league level. Because right now, your level of concern you said isn't too high. Mine is probably about middle of the road because we saw this in spring training too. So now you're looking at about 6 weeks of Cedric Mullins kind of performing below what we expected to see out of him.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing him drop down a few more bunts. I mean, I know he tried last night, ended up being a sack bunt. He was so close; it was just like a less than a half step of beating that out. Maybe
Right.
something like that gets him going. He's such a good bunter. It's just with his ability that he showed last year, at least of hitting for power. Maybe you don't want to do that, but if he drops a few down and gets on base, and maybe something like that can get him going.
Yeah, I 100% agree, and hopefully he gets going sooner rather than later. Hopefully his whole team gets going sooner rather than later, because the runners in scoring position numbers are certainly eye-popping and not in a good way. Another thing that's eye-popping and not in a good way is it's another John Means injury. He had the shoulder issues each of his first three seasons. Now he has left forearm tightness, and he says something he's never felt before, never experienced before. How does this impact his arbitration hearing, and do you think that this means we see a guy like Kyle Bradish sooner rather than later?
I don't know if they would move up the timetable from what they think for some of these guys. We might have ended up seeing Bradish, maybe later this month or in May. I'm not really sure what they're thinking. I know they like to see success at each level of the minors, and I know they like to be cautious. So maybe I don't know if they'll really push anything with any of the prospects just because Means went down. I think the bigger issue is that they didn't do more in the off season to bring in a couple more arms.
Yeah.
Jordan Lyles is fine. They needed someone like that. They probably needed another guy like that. And for whatever reason, they just didn't do that. They waited until spring training was just about over to, bring in Matt Harvey. And Matt Harvey was pretty terrible last year. He's probably not likely to be any good this year. And he didn't even really do a great job of eating innings, period. So they needed someone who was more like Lyles to probably add in the rotation too. I mean, some fans are worried about not blocking prospects, but Jordan Lyles isn't blocking any prospects. Another starting pitcher wouldn't have really blocked anyone.
Right.
And if one of those guys was good anyway, you could also trade them as well. And also factoring in, it Means has been hurt every season. So this is always, the earlier concerns with him were with his shoulder. I mean, he had shoulder issues. It's never really a forearm thing, so it's different. But I mean, there are innings to go around, and not every inning that goes to someone like Lyles is blocking a prospect.
No, exactly. Now with Means, he hasn't settled on a contract for this year yet. They're still battling over that. They're going to have an arbitration hearing. Does this impact his argument for the contract that he wants versus with the contract that the Orioles want to give him? And how do you think that the Orioles? How do they view him moving forward? Because there are some people. Zach had us sounding off a couple weeks ago where he said the Orioles need to give him a 5-year, $75 million extension. But this is 4 years, 4 injuries. What do you think his future is here?
The arbitration thing, like you mentioned, like that just throws a wrench into things. I don't really know what they do. I mean, you're already arguing against your own player, and now the season has started, so it's even more awkward and weird than usual. So I'm not sure exactly how that's going to happen. I mean, they probably will use the injuries against him. You have to argue against your own player in some way to try to keep that number down. In terms of long-term, I don't think they're going to sign him to a long-term deal. I didn't think it before this season either. I think that if he started the season really well, I think that they would have considered moving him. Maybe not. I don't know. I think they'd consider moving anyone within reason at this point. I don't know what's going to happen now. I mean, you can't really trade him if he's injured every year. Is there a team who's going to want to give up anything substantial for him?
Right.
This was supposed to be a big year for him, and I hope he doesn't end up being lost for the season.
Yeah, and part of next season, if he has to have Tommy John surgery, it's certainly
Yep.
not good for him or for the Orioles at this point. Grayson Rodriguez, a guy who could take that spot in the rotation. He's picking up in Norfolk where he left off in Bowie last year. 2 earned runs, 15 strikeouts, 1 walk, and 2 starts covering 9 innings pitched. 5 innings, 67 pitches his last start. There were a lot of people that thought, well, why not have him go out there for the 6th inning and ramp up to 80 pitches? This is just kind of a slow play with him to get him back into things. I think they have big plans for him for this rotation for the bulk of this year. What are your thoughts on Grayson Rodriguez as we stand right now?
Yeah, I agree. I think they were overly cautious with him last year because of what happened in 2020. So you can kind of understand that. I would like to see him start ramping up soon, like you mentioned. So maybe it's just a slow play to try to get him through the season and build more innings. I have no negative thoughts really about Grayson Rodriguez. I can't wait until they bring him up, whether it's in May, whether it's this summer, probably more likely June or July. It's going to be exciting to watch him play. I don't know if it's going to be fair to expect him to be, an ace or even a great pitcher from day one. But they just need that excitement. They need they need those young guys to be good. Like it's a lot of pressure, and it's going to take more than just a couple guys, right? But
Yeah.
It's just gonna be fun to watch him, be able to face major league hitters and hopefully, get up to the 6th, 7th inning and just produce.
Yeah, Kyle Stowers, his Norfolk teammate, excuse me. He's back to absolutely destroying baseballs down there. He got hit by a pitch in the hand. He missed about 4 or 5 games. 3 doubles and a home run last night. 5 RBIs. It's good to see after a tough spring where he was likely pressing because he kept batting fourth in all those games. He's batting .533 with a 1.917 OPS, 2 home runs, 7 RBIs, and 5 doubles in just 15 at bats. How much of an impact do you think we see from him in Baltimore, and when do you expect to see him? I know we were talking earlier on the show, and it seems it would have to be an injury or a trade before he gets here.
Yeah, that seems most likely. Santander is the guy who's been the best at the plate for the Orioles right now, so it would be no surprise to see them try to move him while he's healthy in the next few months. So maybe maybe someone like Stowers slides in there. Even Hayes, Hayes was good last year, especially in the second half, but I don't know if he's someone who you can really rely on as like a middle of the order bat. He's probably someone who goes, toward the bottom of the order. He can help you in the outfield, but you could see Stowers getting at bats there, or even if the Orioles end up moving someone like Mancini. A lot of these guys are in the same boat where, honestly, you could bring them up in the next couple of weeks, or you could bring them up in the summer, June, July, and you can make a case for either one of those things. I'm excited about Stowers. I don't know if he'll be, a middle of the order bat from day one. I think there are things to like about him. There's also, a lot of the same concerns that these guys have with swinging and missing. He's a swing and miss guy, but he does have power. I'm excited to see him too, hopefully June or July, and he can stay healthy.
Matt, I think it's safe to say that we're going to see a lot of roster turnover this year. That the roster that we're looking at right now is going to be far different from the one we see the second half of the season. I know that we're all excited, and with that in mind, do you think that this is kind of just the final year for true evaluating what they have, and then next year they start to turn the page towards trying to put a better on-field product out there, and maybe start to try and win some ball games?
It has to be. There was a strong argument to, them adding 1 or 2 significant pieces, if possible, this season to, help guys like Rushman and Rodriguez and, Mullins and Mountcastle, the guys who are already on the team. And, you don't want the cupboard to be bare when you bring some of those guys up, your top prospects. So
right.
you could have made a really strong case, and I thought they should have, this offseason, whether you believe the Carlos Correa stuff or not. There were other players out there that they maybe could have gone stronger for, but there is no excuse next offseason not to try to add significant talent to the team. We just can't keep doing this every year where it's like it has to be all the young players, right, or anyone who's already on the team. Like you can't just keep doing nothing. And the roster should be talented, at least from a young player perspective. But there's lots of holes on the roster. There are areas where they need help. I really hope that they do that.
Yeah, no, I think they're going to need to add a legitimate free agent relief arm. I think they're going to need to add at least 1 or 2 starting pitchers for the rotation, and guys that are actually good starting pitchers, not these Matt Harvey, Jordan Lyles type. Somebody that can actually go out there and be a number 3 starter for you. I agree with you. I've been saying since last year, bringing Adley Rutschman and Grayson Rodriguez up to the big league club, you can expose them to the brand of baseball that we've seen in Baltimore the last 3 or 4 years. They've got to come to a team that is close to being ready to compete, in my opinion. So I think you and I are on the same page there, and it's nice to hear a guy like you say something like that, because I think that we can take that with more than a grain of salt, because people value your opinion a great deal. Matt, what can we plug for you? What do you have coming up?
Nothing writing wise. You mentioned my kids before. It's right in the middle of Little League season and everything right now. But I'm thinking of a couple things maybe for the next few weeks or months. Otherwise, it's just on Twitter. You can follow me on Matt Kremnitzer if you want.
All right, absolutely. I think it's a great follow. People should be following you. Matt, always great to talk to you, man. Good luck with your kids' Little League season. We will talk to you hopefully soon down the road here.
That sounds great. Thank you, guys.
All right, take care.
Bye.
That was Matt Kremnitzer joining us. First time in a long time. And what I said to him, I 100% mean that. people should be following him because I love his posts. His posts are always tongue-in-cheek. They're always sarcastic. They provide a great bit of levity. I can't tell you how many times I've been pissed off about something the team is or isn't doing, and I look and I see one of his posts and it puts a smile on my face.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's a funny guy, and his writing is outstanding. He formerly wrote for the Athletic, so you know he's got talent there. And if he sits there and he says to you, this has to be the last year that they do this.
Oh, it does.
Then you know it has to be.
Mm-hmm.
To me, Matt saying that is the same thing as John Meoli or Dan Connolly. And I'm not putting him in the same echelon as them, but I trust his baseball acumen and his Orioles knowledge enough to say, if this guy says it, then you got to believe it. This has to be the last year that they do this. It absolutely has to be. So thank you to Matt Kremnitzer for coming on and taking a few minutes for us on a Saturday morning. I know he's pretty busy, but maybe no Little League with it being Easter weekend. I want to say something. My wife sent me a text message, and she was right. And I have to correct myself and apologize to my co-host here for I kind of bulldogged you a little bit
What do you mean?
in our argument about bunting in the ninth inning.
Well, I don't know what the term bulldog means.
I said to you that agreeing to disagree is just something people say when they don't have a better argument, and my wife said no, saying that is when the other person is bulldogging them and they just want it to be over. And that may have been what you were doing, maybe it wasn't what you were doing, but for me to call your argument stupid, for me to downplay your opinion, my apologies. Your opinion is valuable. That's why you're in that chair. That's why you're here. That's why you're here. I don't think you take it as personally as she knows that I get.
I didn't take it personally.
I know you didn't. When people do that to me, and the other thing is
I love arguing baseball as much as anyone in this world.
And
so
you and I consider us friends. We golf together.
Yes.
We're going to the Orioles game together. Yes. You know, I consider us. You've come over to my house to watch football.
Exactly.
So I consider us friends. So when we have these arguments,
it's friendly banter.
Yes,
it's friendly banter.
When we have these arguments, it's different because you and I are friends. It's not like I'm having an argument with somebody else who I barely know, or I'm only a professional colleague with.
Not malicious. Yeah. Laura, I appreciate the concern.
No, but she's right, because that's something that I tend to take personally. If it's not a friend,
sure, yeah.
If it's a friend, say whatever the hell you want to me.
Get in a fight with a Yankees fan at a game tomorrow. We'll see.
Yeah.
Well, Paul might take up some Yankees fans and say some things he shouldn't.
I've got a story to tell you off the air.
Okay.
That my best friend Adam, you've met him. He was at the house when
he
came to watch football.
Yep.
I went to the game on Wednesday night with he and his dad, and his dad has all these crazy stories. And his
dad was a nice guy.
Yeah, dads, what they do is they tend to recycle stories. You have a father. I'm sure he's told you the same story 100 times, right? So
he can do that a few times.
Dads tend to recycle stories, but he told me this one story that I've heard before, but he didn't elaborate as much as he did this time. I can't say it on the air, but it happened at a baseball game, and I'll tell you off the air. We do have to take another break before we get to the payoff pitch around the league. Guys, these are the final days for you to pick up the print issue of Press Box. On the cover, we celebrate the 20th anniversary of Maryland men's basketball's 2002 NCAA tournament championship, as Gary Williams reflects on how the program rose from the ashes of NCAA sanctions to the pinnacle of the sport, and why his perspective of the title run has changed now 2 decades later. Plus, Juan Dixon, Lonnie Baxter, and the rest of the team relive the moments that ultimately led to them cutting down those nets in Atlanta. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores. Go to Royal Farms, pick up some chicken. I love their chicken. They have really good food.
It is really good.
It's really good.
It is.
And you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com. And coming this Wednesday, a brand new issue of Press Box with a cover story we know Orioles fans will love. Got to get a break. When we come back here on the Bat Around, the payoff pitch around the league, and Orioles banter.
Baseball is back, and so is the spring seasonal menu at Glory Days Grill. Start with the opener, flash-fried pork belly with our popular Korean No. 2 sauce, and take a bite out of the Crunch Burger, topped with home run sauce, white American cheese, and house-made chips. It also features irresistible options like a baseball-cut sirloin with blue cheese, grilled shrimp with garlic butter, and a strawberry salmon salad. And then there's the closer, the Cracker Jack sundae with a waffle, ice cream, and Cracker Jack. snacks. This menu will be going gone at your neighborhood Glory Days Grill. GloryDaysGrill.com to find out more. Great food, good sports.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Sports betting has come to Maryland, and we're ready to help you win some money. Tune in for Simply the Bets with Glenn Clark and Paul Valley every Tuesday morning at 11:40. FanDuel Sportsbook GM Bruce Billick and VSiN's Aaron Oster join the guys every week to give you all of the info you need and even a few winners. So come win some money with us on Simply the Bets every Tuesday at 11:40 a.m. Brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Listen at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. Watch at YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline.
The newest edition of PressBox is available now. On the cover, we celebrate the 20th anniversary of Maryland men's basketball's 2002 NCAA Tournament Championship, as Gary Williams reflects on how the program rose from the ashes of NCAA sanctions to the pinnacle of the sport, and why his perspective of the title run has changed now 2 decades later. Plus, Juan Dixon, Lonnie Baxter, and the rest of the team relive the moments that ultimately led them to cutting down the nets in Atlanta. PressBox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farms stores. And you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Stan the Fan here, welcoming back one of my favorite sponsors, the Costas Inn. And everybody around Baltimore knows that the Costas Inn is a great place to go and grab crabs, steaks, salads, soups, whatever's on your mind to eat in person. But did you know that the Costas Inn has upped their game? They are now one of the premier takeout places in Baltimore. Give them a call now to order your food, 410-477-1975. That's the Costas Inn over 4100 North Point Boulevard.
Answering Baltimore's calls for help, running in when others run away, working together toward one shared vision for a thriving city. That's your Baltimore Police. But the department needs more good people. People like you. Join a proud new generation of Baltimore Police and make an active difference in your community. Start with competitive wages and excellent benefits on day one. Join for good at bpdrecruit.org.
Welcome back to the Bat Around. PressBox's Glenn Clark Radio is the definitive place to find the best daily discussion of Baltimore sports. Watch the show every weekday from 10 to noon at youtube.com/PressBoxOnline or facebook.com/PressBoxSports. Or listen at PressBoxOnline.com/radio with podcasts available on iTunes, Spotify, or anywhere you get your podcast. You never know who might pop up on GCR. This week, the guys caught up with NFL Network draft analyst Daniel Jeremiah, Camden Yards designer Janet Marie Smith, and Orioles top pitching prospect Drew Rahm. Find those interviews and more in the Glenn Clark Week in Review feature right now at PressBoxOnline.com.
Very good, very good. Thank you for promoting the
show you were a co-captain of.
Clearly the secondary show on this for this company. It's a Bat Around is the grand poobah.
Oh yeah,
of things. Absolutely,
everyone knows that.
Our 1 day a week, 2.5 hour show is nothing. Is the superior show, clearly.
Of course.
No, Glenn's such a pro, man. He is such a pro. And the thing is, so I have to prepare for these shows the night before, all week before, and it takes me hours. Glenn will get a guest 5 minutes before the show starts, and he's got a bevy of questions for him. He's a pro's pro. He's going to be doing the show with Sarita Hubbard on 105.7 The Fan from, I believe, 1 to 4 now, starting on April 24th, so make sure you check that out. And make sure you check out GCR with Glenn and yours truly Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 12. Usually we go to 12:30, to be perfectly honest with you.
As we do on the show.
Most
of the time.
Yeah, most of the time. It's fun. That's why.
It is.
We're having fun. We're in our sports talk zone, and my wife said she heard the response and gave me a smiley face.
There you go.
Now it's time for out of Paul's personal life, and let's go to the payoff pitch around the league. The Orioles' woes continue with runners in scoring positions. They went 1 for 15, but Yankees pitching walked 10 batters, including Ramon Arias, with the bases loaded in the bottom of the 11th as the Orioles walked off the Bronx Bombers 2-1. Shohei Ohtani homered twice as part of a 5-homer game for the Angels as they beat the Rangers by a field goal 9-6. Nolan Arenado hit his 4th homer, and Miles, is it Mikolas?
Miles Michaelis, I believe it is.
Let's start over. Nolan Arenado hit his 4th homer, and Miles Michaelis struck out 7 in 6 2/3 innings of 1-run ball to help the Cardinals shut down the Brewers 10-1. Francisco Lindor continued his renaissance season with 2 homers and 3 RBIs as the Mets beat the D-backs 10-3. Joe Ryan gave up 1 run in 6 innings, and Miguel Sano homered to lead the Twins past the Red Sox 8-4. Nelson Cruz and Josh Bell combined for 4 hits and 6 RBIs, and Juan Soto reached base 4 times as the Nationals led from the beginning in a 7-2 victory over the Pirates. In an ode to Easter Sunday, Jesus Sanchez and Jesus Aguilar combined for 5 RBIs to back Pablo Lopez's 5 1/3 shutout innings as the Marlins handled the Phillies 7-1. Vladdy Jr. bounced back from his 4-strikeout game with his 5th homer to back an 11K no-walk performance from the Toronto pitching staff in a 4-1 victory over Oakland. Carlos Rodon struck out 9 in 7 innings of 1-run ball, and the offense hit 3 homers to drive in all 4 runs in the Giants' 4-1 win over the Guardians. Sorry, Zach. Dylan Cease allowed just 1 run in 5 2/3 innings, striking out 8 to lead the White Sox over the Rays 3-2. Spencer Torkelson mashed a 432-foot 2-run shot in the 7th inning to put the Tigers in the lead for good as Detroit outlasted the Royals 2-1. Top pitching prospect Mackenzie Gore tossed 5 1/3 innings of 2-run ball last night in his major league debut, but it wasn't enough as the Braves scored 3 in the 8th to take down the Padres 5-2. Chris Bryant collected 2 hits to raise his average to .379, and C.J. Cron homered to help the Rockies top the Cubs 6-5. Marco Gonzalez spun 7 innings of 1-run ball, scattering 4 hits, while the offense got 4 hits and 4 RBIs from Adam Frazier as the Mariners toppled the Astros. I didn't put down the final score. I think it was 10-3. That was one of the ones where I went to bed before I finished doing it. And then Trey Turner tripled amongst his 2 hits, driving in 1 to back a 5-hit 1-run performance from the pitching staff as the Dodgers beat the Reds 3-1. Did you happen to catch the final score of that game?
11-1.
11-1. 11-1. All right.
So today on the docket, we've got a lot of games, of course, because it is a Saturday. Starting off at 1 o'clock with the D-backs and the Mets visiting Citi Field. Carlos Carrasco versus the young starter Zach Gallen. At 2 p.m., we have the Rays and the White Sox. The veteran Corey Kluber versus the hard-throwing Michael Kopech. At 3 p.m., we have the Athletics and the Blue Jays. The Athletics are off to a better start than most people would think at 4-4. Blue Jays off to a 5-3 start. Yunjin Ryu looks to fix his bad start to the season. Another 4 p.m. game, we have Ian Anderson, the ace for the Braves, against the Padres' Nick Martinez at Petco Park. The Tigers and the Royals, the young Matt Manning versus the young lefty Chris Bubich. Another 4 p.m. game, the Twins and the Red Sox, Tanner Houck versus the borderline ace Sonny Gray. He's already off to a good start this year, 3.86 ERA. The Giants take on the Guardians at 6 p.m. at Progressive Field. Cal Quantrill and Anthony Desclafani in that pitching matchup there. Ranger Suarez goes against Trevor Rogers as the Phillies take on the Marlins at Lone Depot Park. Josh Rogers, former Oriole, the lefty, takes on Bryce Wilson as the Nationals battle the Pirates at 6:30 in Pittsburgh. For your 7 p.m. games, we have the Angels and the Rangers. Noah Syndergaard makes his second start after his first very good start for the Angels, where he's currently 1-0 with a 0 ERA, so a great start for Syndergaard against Taylor Hearn for the Rangers. The Yankees battle once again against the Orioles. Jameson Taillon versus Tyler Wells as he makes his second big league start, coming off of a really good relief season last year that we've talked a lot about on the show. Another former reliever, Steven Matz, he goes against Adrian Hauser, who had a pretty good game against the Orioles on opening day, but did not get the win there as the Cardinals take on the Brewers. The Cubs and the Rockies go to battle at 8 p.m. as Mark Leiter Jr. goes against Anthony Santazella at Coors Field. The Astros, they take on the Mariners at 9 p.m. as the veteran Justin Verlander takes on Chris Flexen. And your final game of the night at 10 p.m., the Reds and the Dodgers. Hunter Green makes his second career start against the 20-game winner in 2021, Julio Urias.
I had to give a little flex there.
I saw that. I saw it out of the corner of my eye. Chris Flexen is a very underrated pitcher, by the way. Yeah. And we got a great comment I want to read from AJ Mukherjee.
Real quick.
Okay.
Cal Quantrill.
Yeah, I said that a little weird.
It's Cal Quantrill.
Quantrill. I don't know. I always say that.
Jerry
name
Cantrell.
I get my Q's mixed up a little bit sometimes. I don't know. It's hard to say. Yeah, Qdoba. Yeah, just call it Doba because I get rid of the Q. Anyway, he said, "How about that wall last night, gents? Holding the Spankies to 1 run, the greatest wall since Pink Floyd's." I think it was a pretty solid comment. I like
That's
that.
awesome.
It's a good
That's
comment.
awesome. Did they hit? Now look, I was at work for the first 7 innings of that game last night. And I got to. It's so cool that I got home from work and still got to watch like 4 innings of baseball. That was cool. Because Fridays and Saturdays are a late night.
Sure.
Did they hit anything that would have been gone that was caught?
No.
No.
I think the only one so far that's happened like that is Trey Mancini hit that double off the wall.
Yeah, he hit it, and as soon as he hit it, I'm like, oh, he got that, and I'm like, that might not make it.
Yeah.
And it hit right off. He missed by like 6 inches, man. Just like Cedric against the Brewers the other night.
The greatest wall since Pink Floyd's.
It's
an amazing comment. I had to read it.
It's an awesome comment.
Yeah.
It's an awesome comment. Hey, man. Hi.
Hey.
little haircut. Hi.
Oh, by the way, that reminded me of something. I don't know why, but have you seen Joey Votto's TikTok?
No.
You need to indulge yourself in that. It's amazing. I was just watching it this morning, and he did something similar to that voice you just used in one of his TikToks, and they're fantastic.
He's probably doing Harry Carey.
I don't think that's...
That was my Harry Carey.
Okay, I get it now.
You know what I love about Yankee Stadium, Norm? The hot dogs. The hot dogs are so good,
bad.
I once ordered 12.
But
I only ate 2. Because you
$1
just can't eat 12 hot dogs, Norm. You just can't do it.
$1.75 hot dogs at Camden Yards last night. That line was like around the... it was insane.
Apparently they had them on Wednesday night, too. I had no idea.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they'll have them tomorrow.
Maybe. It is kids' opening day.
Oh, it is
tomorrow.
Yeah.
And they're doing a lot of
kids love hot dogs.
Kids love hot dogs, and the kids and Harry Carey. They love.
Not bad.
They love. Rich Hill does an incredible Harry
Does
Carey
he?
impression. We're never gonna talk to Rich Hill, but if we ever do, we're gonna have to get him. I'm sure every interview he does, they make him.
He's a former Oriole, so you never know.
Yeah,
Bring him on at some point.
Another guy the Orioles could have signed. He didn't sign for. I think it was like 1 year, $3 million.
True.
Anyway, I digress. Really excited for tonight's starting pitcher. Look,
Are you? I don't know if I am.
I love Tyler Wells.
I like him. I just like him as a bullpen piece more.
Look, we saw him struggle at the beginning of last year, and then for a nice 2.5, 3 month period, he was a dog out there, and I think he can do that in the rotation. And I also
so.
I really like the fact I guarantee you that you're going to see him go, and then Mike Bauman's going to be the guy that comes in after him.
Yeah, so the weird thing, I was talking to someone the other day, and they made a great point to me. They were like, Michael Bauman, in his minor league career, I think it was 74 out of 78 games he pitched in the minors, he was a starter. So I would love to see Michael Bauman make this rotation and not have to piggyback behind a guy.
Well, and what they're doing, and honestly, I think it's smart. When you call up prospects, now guys like D.L. Hall and Grayson Rodriguez, why would I forget that name? Guys like Hall and Rodriguez, those are guys that come up to the major leagues to be in your rotation. But a lot of times, teams will take their top pitch, some of their better pitching prospects, and get them up to the major leagues to get them up here and throw them out of the pen.
Yeah,
for a year.
That's true.
And then or use them in long relief and then give them spot starts here and there.
Right.
And that could be what they're doing. Look, Mike Bauman in the minor leagues was nasty.
He was
nasty, and he made the jump from high A to double A and got better.
Yeah.
And I'll still never forget his 97 pitch no hitter where he was still touching 97 in the ninth inning. The guy's got an arm, and people keep talking. And the other thing is, people talk about him as a back end of the bullpen arm for his career in the majors. I'm not sold that he can't be a starter. I'm not sold that he can't be a number 4 or a number 5 in the Orioles rotation. And
sure.
you have a guy that can throw 4 pitches and can touch 97 with his fastball as a 4 or a 5 in your rotation. I think you're setting yourself up for success.
As long as the command is there, that's great. I was saying this to someone the other day that great stuff, generally the guys who have the great stuff and only great stuff, or they lack command and control, they're your guys you want to have in the bullpen. But obviously you look across the league, and your guys who have worse stuff and better command are in the starting rotation. But if you combine both of them, you're going to obviously be an ace. I mean, that's the ideal thing. So we'll see what happens with him, and I think the same thing is really, for a lot of these Orioles pitchers, I mean, you look at D.L. Hall and Ballman and a lot of these guys who throw really hard, it's like, well, if the command can come there and they can combine them, they're going to be in this rotation for a long time. But if it's only the stuff that they have, more likely bullpen guys for the moment. Right. But as we are,
like Jorge Lopez.
Right, like exactly. I mean, great stuff, but he just doesn't have the command to start and can't get through a lineup 3 times. And you look at what Michael Ballman did in the minors, and he dominated everyone. But it remains to be seen whether he can do that at the major league level over 5 or 6 innings. But I just see no reason why they can't give him a shot to do that right now. I mean, you have Spencer Watkins as your 5. And you're, I mean, I just don't really get what they have to lose. But you're right. A lot of pitching prospects, especially the highly touted ones, come up and start off in the bullpen. That's not exactly, I mean, Tristan McKenzie for the Guardians is a great example of that.
Yeah. By the way, we've started Orioles banter. We didn't really make some kind of time for Orioles banter. We're in it.
We're in it.
We're in Orioles banter, guys. Thanks for tuning into the Bat Around. You're talking about the bullpen, man, and the bullpen has been so good.
Yeah.
So good. And to a man, you've heard so many people last night say that's the best pitched game we've seen in Brandon Hyde's
I would
era.
agree.
And
one thing I'll say about Brandon Hyde, too, I don't want to cut you off, sorry, but Brandon Hyde has managed the bullpen very, very well this year with the guys he's picked in certain spots.
Yeah, no, I really haven't had too much of an issue. There was one issue that I had, and I was because I think it was overall just looking at the inability of this team to manufacture runs and somebody was going off about how Ryan Mountcastle didn't lay down a bunt the other day with runners on first and second and nobody out, and you have and you're down a couple of runs. Somebody was going off to me about how Mountcastle didn't bunt, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, he's Ryan Mountcastle.
That is not the guy you want bunting.
No, this is a guy. You're down 2-0. This is a guy who can put you up 3-2.
Right.
You know, if this is Cedric, they're not going to have Cedric Mullins bunt in that situation. Though I think Cedric Mullins will bunt on his own, especially with the way he's going right now. But that's not the guy you have bunt there. And then we saw Jorge Mateo last night trying to bunt, and that was a failed.
It wasn't great.
Yeah, he's with that kind of speed.
Mm-hmm.
He should be working on bunting every day.
100%.
He should be working on
100%.
bunting every day. And I find it funny that the team went 1 for 15 with runners in scoring position last night, and the one hit that they got was an RBI single by Jorge Mateo, and he gets thrown out trying to stretch it to a double.
Yeah.
I have to say, though, I wasn't disappointed with that play.
No, I love the aggressiveness.
I love the aggressiveness, and when I first saw it, I thought he beat it. I thought that I thought it was very close enough that the Orioles took a look at it in the dugout but decided not to challenge it. I love the guy's got world-class speed. If there's anybody on this team that can stretch that hit into a double, it's Jorge Mateo.
Watching that guy in person just over the past, I've been to 2 Orioles games so far, and watching him in person, it's just ridiculous. It's blazing speed. I mean, this is a guy who really is one of the fastest guys in all of American professional sports at the moment. This guy flies. I mean, if you see him in person and get out to an Orioles game and see him, this guy has, like you said, world-class speed. He is different. I support 100%. If he hits a ball down the line, just try to stretch it. I mean, that's what you're here for. That's what your speed does. And he can steal basically any base he wants to.
Yeah, I was at the game on opening day, and he gets a walk. No, I'm sorry, he had a base hit. He had a little bloop single in the right field.
Yep.
He's on first base, and he steals second, and they didn't even throw.
No.
The pitch wasn't in the dirt. He's so freaking fast, they didn't even bother to throw.
Yeah.
And then you see the slide home for the second run. He scores, he jumps up, and he's got energy.
Mm-hmm.
He's got energy. He's got electric speed. If the bat can I still don't trust his defense.
No, I don't either. And just because characteristically he wasn't a very good minor league defender. It's as simple as that.
He strikes me as somebody who's so fast that defensively he plays too fast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you'll see he'll go to one of the errors that he made this year. He bobbled the ball at shortstop, and it was a slow ground ball. And he tried to pick it up and throw it before he had it.
Yeah.
And it hit off the top of his glove.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm talking about. I played baseball with a guy in an indoor league this year who was playing shortstop. And he had the look of a ball player. Big dude, it looked strong, it looked physically imposing.
Yeah.
And he played so freaking fast, he just kept making errors.
Yeah.
He kept making you have to slow down. You have to slow yourself down.
Yeah.
And that's what I see with Jorge Mateo. Is you can be a good defender, but everything in you is so fast that I don't know that he can slow it down. And honestly, if I see it, and look, I'm not a talent evaluator. I have the eye test, and that's about it. If I see it, you know the Orioles see it, and maybe
Sure.
that's something that they're working on with him.
Yeah.
But he's definitely got to slow that down a little bit. But yeah, getting back to the pitching outing today, Tyler Wells, I have faith in. He was a starter his entire career until he came here and was a Rule 5 pick, and then they had to use him to bullpen because you're not going to put a Rule 5 pick in your starting rotation. And then Mike Baumann coming in after him, and if you can get 6-7 innings out of those two guys, maybe even 8. If both guys, I don't think Ballman's going 4. I can see Wells going 3 or 4 and Ballman going 3 or 2 or 3.
We haven't seen Wells yet, correct?
No, he started earlier this year.
He did. Okay.
He made the third start against Tampa Bay. That was a game the Orioles lost 8.
Oh no, I sorry, I was talking about Alex Wells.
Alexander Wells. Okay.
Yeah.
He might come in.
I was gonna say I think today might be his day. I kind of feel
maybe
like he might be the guy.
maybe you see all 3 of them. Maybe you get 3 innings out of Wells, out of Tyler Wells, and then 2 innings apiece out of Wells, Alexander Wells, and Mike Baumann. And that's actually a good guy to bring in when you have a guy like Tyler Wells, who's gonna be throwing 97, 98 miles an hour. And then you bring in a soft tosser who tops out at 88,
changes
89,
a lot,
and a big looping curveball.
Yeah,
and he had a good performance. His one outing in Norfolk, I think he gave up 1 hit and 1 walk in like 4 or 5 innings. That could be. I like where your head's at with that. They kind of keep the Yankees lineup off balance.
Sure, maybe
try and win a series here tonight. And then tomorrow they've got the former Oriole Rule 5 pick Nestor Cortez taking the bump for the Yankees tomorrow. That's a game that we're going to see. And maybe
oh boy,
maybe the lower velocity can help the Orioles kind of sit back and remember how to drive a baseball.
It's funny with Nestor Cortez because he's had a pretty successful career with the Yankees. He hasn't been great, but he's been not bad.
He was really good last year.
Right, I mean, he was. And with the Orioles, he was a train wreck. I mean, this is a guy who got DFA'd in the middle of April after being a Rule 5 pick. And he did nothing spring training to make the team, and then he came he was a mess for the Orioles, but much better for the Yankees.
He wasn't ready.
He wasn't ready.
We're talking 5 years ago, 4 years ago.
Yeah.
He just wasn't ready. He's ready now.
I remember my high school baseball coach, one of them, just going off about Nestor Cortez during a practice and how much he hated him and wanted him off this team.
That's so
I don't know why I remember that. I did.
So let's talk a little bit here about John Means. Look, the forearm strain. We talked about it with both of our guests, but we didn't get a chance to talk about it one-on-one here. Forearm strain. This is a guy who's going to an arbitration hearing with the Orioles. You're hoping it's not Tommy John. You're hoping all it is a forearm strain. And I've strained my forearm plenty of times and never had to get Tommy John surgery. Now, he has way more torque on his arm than I do. I'm not a professional athlete. What's your level of concern? And I found it very interesting that Matt Kremnitzer said he doesn't think that he's in the long-term plans for the Orioles, and he thinks they're more likely to trade him.
Yeah, that was an interesting comment. I heard that, and I was surprised at that. But I think I'm not going to say that the Orioles haven't heard offers for him. I guarantee you they've poked around a little bit and tried to see in previous years what they might be able to get for John Means. And if they were blown away with an offer, I almost guarantee you they would have made that trade. Mm-hmm. I said the Orioles should extend John Means simply because he is a guy that is, frankly, the best starter they've developed for a very, very long time, since the early 2000s.
Right.
And the fact is that, yes, you have Grayson Rodriguez, yes, you have DL Hall, Kyle Bradish, but nobody's proven yet. You have a proven starter right now that's here, that's performing well. Now he's injured. That changes a lot. I've heard a lot of times that forearm strains often mean that something is wrong with your UCL.
Yeah.
So let's hope that's not the case, but we haven't heard a lot on him. Brendan Hyde has been somewhat quiet about it, other than saying yesterday he's going to miss a lot of time. And
he said a lot of time?
He said a lot of time, yeah. So to me, that says they're still doing tests, maybe still trying to figure out if this UCL is going to need Tommy John to be beyond repair. That would be a horrible, horrible situation because Tommy John's like 18 months. That's a long time of recovery.
Who was the pitcher? And he was just here until a couple of years ago, and he's back pitching overseas again for the Yankees. He was really good Japanese pitcher recently.
Oh, Tanaka. Masahiro Tanaka.
Yeah. He had a partial UCL strain, UCL tear his rookie year, and he pitched his entire career with that.
It's pretty wild.
Pitched his entire career with that. Yeah. Maybe it's a partial tear, maybe something they just need to clean up, or maybe it's just overuse and it's just cramping. I don't think if it was cramping.
It feels like it wouldn't be overuse, though, because he didn't pitch that much last year. He missed half the season. So
he made 26 starts.
Missed the third, I should say.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm concerned about this though. It's elbow injuries are never good. They never, even if it's not a full tear or he needs Tommy John, it's still not good. It's still your number one starter missing all this time, and then it makes his future that much more uncertain.
Yeah, and then you want, but you also have to look at it from this perspective. They still have 3 years of team control on him after this year, right? Because if it's 19, 20,
let me check on that.
21. So this is his first year of arbitration. They have 2 years of team control after this.
Yes.
So maybe he comes back the second half of next year, and he pitches well, and then you sign him for a more reasonable deal. He pitches well. You sign him for. He hasn't proven he can stay healthy. You sign him 3-4 years for what, $35, $40 million.
That'd be way more ideal. Yeah.
That's way more ideal for you. And now you have a guy who probably at that point, with the other arms that you have, slots in at 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
And he's still really good. And it gives him an opportunity. He's 28 years old. If he pitches for 4 more years with the Orioles, 4 or 5 more years with the Orioles, he's 32, 33. And he can still go out there and get another contract for himself.
Sure, yeah.
Because pitchers have a higher shelf life generally than position players. I feel like anyway. Maybe they don't.
I would say generally.
The good ones.
Yeah.
You have a lot of guys a guy like a Spencer Watkins who brings that average down, who comes in and he'll make a few starts last year,
sure.
a few starts this year. But yeah, I could see that happening with John Means. That's trying to find a silver lining. Honestly, that's the definition of a silver lining is if that happens for the Orioles. Because right now, if Hyde said he's going to miss a lot of time and they're being real hush-hush about it, there's a good chance and we're not doctors. My dad is, but that doesn't mean I'm one. That doesn't translate.
Right.
It's probably not a good sign.
Yeah, I'm not confident about that at all. I'm definitely concerned because again, this is the best pitcher the Orioles have produced since Eric Bedard, and the fact is that there really is no one else in this rotation right now that you can really count on. Jordan Lyles is fine, but he's not a world beater. He's not John Means. He's not going to go throw 7 innings and give up 2 hits and 9 strikeouts. It's just not going to happen. And the problem is with John Means right now is that this is a 10-day IL situation right now. We know it's going to last a lot longer than that.
It's probably going to be a 60-day IL.
And it's probably going to be that situation.
Probably a season ender.
Right. I mean, it's beyond bad. It's beyond bad. And I said, like I said, I texted you a few weeks ago that I don't know how the Orioles are going to have enough pitching to get through the season. And then when your number one, most reliable starter that gives you the most innings out of anyone gets hurt, that only furthers that argument. I just don't. They're going to have to make every waiver claim under the sun. If a guy has options, he will be brought in. You just have to do it. Yeah. There's almost no way you can make it through the season otherwise.
Yeah, there's no way. Now, we do like the fact that you're going to see Kyle Bradish and Grayson Rodriguez and DL Hall. I'd like to see Hall get to Bowie in the next week or two.
Me too.
And maybe he will. We talked about the roster turnover that there's going to be this year for this team, and I don't think you can understate it. The team that we're seeing right now is going to look vastly different in a few months. Once you get Rutschman and those 3 pitchers I just mentioned up here, maybe you see a Taron Bauer, maybe you see a Jordan Westberg, Kyle Stowers, Robert Newstrom. Rylan Bannon is hitting over 300 right now. He's had a good start to the year. Yusniel Diaz, surprise, with a hamstring injury. How does it happen so much to somebody?
This guy's made of glass. He is made of glass, and it's too bad because he was off to a really good start for the season.
Yeah, and they didn't say it's a tear; it's a strain.
7-day IL, which is the minors, the shortest one available, and that's. It is what it is. This is Yusniel Diaz. This is what we've come to expect from him. It's too bad because he is a talented guy who looked like he had a chance to finally make his major league debut at 25 years old. Long time, 5 seasons after he was traded for. So it's definitely disappointing that he's again hurt.
I just you were hopeful, but you're always thinking, how long till he pops a hammy or strains a quad?
And there we go. Happened already.
And it's happened over not even 2 weeks into the season. Right. It's already happened. So speedy recovery for him, but I'm not holding out hope to see him. And even if you do see him in the major leagues and he gets off to a hot start here, you just know it's a matter of time before he gets hurt.
Right. And Robert Newstrom and Kyle Stowers are both off the hot starts too. So that's positive. Yeah. By the way, I did want to mention one thing. I don't know if you noticed this last night, but John Rhodes was playing second base in Aberdeen, which I thought was pretty interesting. Yeah. I know he did. So he went to Kentucky, I believe. Someone correct me on that if I'm wrong. But he did play second base a little bit there in like his freshman sophomore year, but then he got moved to the outfield in his draft year. But that's interesting. I thought that was, with all the outfielders, as we talk about all the talent they have in this outfield right now, with, of course, Newstrom and Stowers and Diaz, I mean, if you want to include them in that conversation, and then what they have at the major league level, and Hudson Haskin is on fire right now at Bowie. Zach Watson is another one.
I noticed they removed him from the game after one at bat.
I think he did get hit by a pitch or something, or hurt in some way. I don't remember what it was, but they do. My point is they have this insane amount of outfield talent. Of course, not even mentioning Kjerstad and Kauser. And seeing a guy like John Rhodes play second base is pretty notable. I know the Orioles are very big on versatility and having a guy being able to play at all positions. And Rhodes is obviously a very good athlete and someone who's played a little bit of second base in his career. So I think it was an interesting move. And Norby was at shortstop last night with Rhodes at seconds. That's a pretty interesting up the middle combination.
I think they want to see if they can get more defensively out of Connor Norby, because when he got drafted, they said this guy is strictly a second baseman. He doesn't have the arm strength to play play shortstop, and maybe they're working on that with him, just trying to get a little bit more versatility. The guy can hit. The guy hit over 400 like every year.
We have an interesting question in the comments. I don't know if you want to answer this, but I can run
real quick with John Rhodes. John Rhodes, if you remember, his freshman year,
Kentucky, correct?
At Kentucky,
right? Okay.
he hit 426.
Yeah.
And then with one home run as a freshman, right? Then he goes out when he was drafted as John Rhodes was one of those guys. He got drafted because they were able to push the draft back. He got drafted in 2021 after he only hit 251 because he hit 11 home runs, but he got really into the launch angle and all that. I think he's kind of reverted his swing back.
Yeah. And
this is a really intriguing prospect because this was a first-round talent that the Orioles got. When did they get him?
I believe the third or fourth.
Yeah, this was a first-round talent that they got in the third round.
Okay, yeah.
That should have been a first-round talent. People thought that the Red Sox were going to take him in the first round, and they passed on him.
I know the Ks were kind of high, I believe, in college, which is one of the big concerns with him. But otherwise, I mean, the versatility's there. And draft-eligible sophomore, I guess he was probably 21 at the time. That's how it works. So John Rhodes is definitely interesting. And I thought that was very intriguing if we're talking about especially outfield depth and how much of it there is to see one of their really not top outfielders, but he's kind of in the middle of the pack there as far as prospects go, playing second base last night.
What I noticed about him in spring training is he looks a lot like the Ultimate Warrior.
Oh, another outfielder I forgot to mention too is Dante Williams, who's also off to a good start. I'm forgetting to say a lot of these guys. I forgot about Kauser completely, but it just goes to the point that the Orioles have so much there, and it's a very positive thing for them. And Kyle Stowers and Newstrom are obviously the two guys that we'll probably see the soonest, but it's a very positive thing to see what's going on in the minors right now, and everyone seems to be hitting the ball well.
Absolutely. What's this question that you had?
So AJ commented again. He said, "Is it safe to say that Elias lost that trade where we got Kevin Smith?" Now, Kevin Smith obviously was outrighted off the 40-man roster. Somehow cleared waivers. I was kind of surprised at that. Thought a team might take a flyer on him. What's your thoughts on that? Did they lose that trade or no?
That was a trade that sent Miguel Castro.
Yes, Miguel Castro
to the Mets, right?
Yeah.
And
he was not even on the Mets anymore.
He's not even on the Mets. I think it's too soon to tell.
I agree. I think Kevin Smith is a guy who could turn it around this year because he did have pretty bad numbers. If you look at his 2021, he wasn't great. Played well in Bowie, but then once he got to Norfolk, blew up. I think he had a 7 ERA or something like that.
That tends to happen.
Yeah,
and he'll get an opportunity to start every fifth or every sixth day.
Sure.
Down there at Norfolk. If he goes out there and has a 5-something ERA this year, then maybe they lost the trade.
Okay.
But the fact that Miguel Castro isn't even on the Mets anymore, and the Orioles have a potential guy who could help them in the bull. I don't think he has a future in the starting rotation. I don't think that's a thing. I think he's a lefty, but he throws too soft.
So he's so far he's pitched 2 games for Bowie, and he has a 2.35 ERA and 7 2/3 innings. So not bad at all from him to start the year.
He's been pitching for Bowie?
Sorry, Norfolk. Sorry, read that completely wrong. Norfolk, yeah.
It's hard to say. He needs to have a good year. Needless to say, he needs to have a good year. But I think he'll get spot starts this year. I don't think he's a guy who's part of the Orioles' future. Part of the Orioles' future as far as the starting rotation is concerned. He may be a bullpen piece for them. But I expect them to go out and add to this rotation and add to the bullpen with actual major league arms this coming off season. Yeah. So we'll see. Hey, look, we gotta get our third and final break before we come back. Just want to remind you that we can bet on sports in Maryland now, but we still can't bet online or on our phones. However, you can feel like you're betting totally legally and right on your phone by playing Underdog Fantasy Football. We've got player props, parlays, and traditional fantasy games. They're all available. Baseball season is underway. You can try your hand at Underdog's many baseball contests. Plus, we're going to give you some free money to play with. Guys, you know the deal. You go to UnderdogFantasy.com or you download the Underdog Fantasy app. Use the code PressBox, and whatever you download, up to $100. If you want to bet 87 cents, I don't know if you can bet that low, but we'll match you 87 cents. If you want to bet $87, we'll match you $87. Up to $100 when you use the code PressBox, we will match you with Underdog Fantasy Football. We got to get a break. When we come back in, take to rake and final thoughts here on the Bet Around.
Sports fans, the wait is over. The all-new FanDuel Sportsbook is now open at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. This is your chance to win big right in your own backyard. Bet on every sport with self-service kiosks and watch all of the action from the best seat in the house. Make every moment more at the all-new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
Hey, O's families, break out your orange and black for Kids Opening Day on April 17th when the O's take on the New York Yankees. Be one of the first 7,500 fans 14 and under to receive an Orioles Pop-It toy. And after the game, kids are invited to take to the field and run the bases like the pros. All presented by Wise Markets. Plus, experience a family fun day at the yard with caricatures, the Easter Bunny, and more. Celebrate the 30th anniversary of Camden Yards with Kids Opening Day. Buy now at Orioles.com/kids.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Answering Baltimore's calls for help, running in when others run away, working together toward one shared vision for a thriving city. That's your Baltimore Police. But the department needs more good people, people like you. Join a proud new generation of Baltimore Police and make an active difference in your community. Start with competitive wages and excellent benefits on day one. Join for good at bpdrecruit.org.
The newest edition of PressBox is available now. On the cover, we celebrate the 20th anniversary of Maryland men's basketball's 2002 NCAA Tournament Championship, as Gary Williams reflects on how the program rose from the ashes of NCAA sanctions to the pinnacle of the sport, and why his perspective of the title run has changed now 2 decades later. Plus, Juan Dixon, Lonnie Baxter, and the rest of the team relive the moments that ultimately led them to cutting down the nets in Atlanta. PressBox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farms stores. And you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
The biggest pro wrestling stars today and all time all have one thing in common. You've heard them on Jobbing Out.
Matt and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks.
Thanks for having us, man. Appreciate it.
The great Kurt Angle.
Thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Matt Riddle.
Yeah, man. Thanks, man.
The champ, Drew McIntyre.
Oh, thank you for having me.
The great Ron Simmons.
Damn.
Keith Lee.
Appreciate you guys having me, man.
Bill Goldberg.
My pleasure.
Charlotte.
Thank you so much for having me.
Mick Foley is with us.
This is the greatest name for a wrestling show I've ever heard.
MJF.
I'm glad you're happy I'm on this show because I'm freaking miserable.
Le
champion.
Chris Jericho.
Le champion.
AJ, Aaron, Brandon, and Glenn are talking pro wrestling every week on Jobbing Out. Find it at PressBoxOnline.com/radio, iTunes, and SoundCloud.
The Toyota Tacoma comes in a wide range of models and trim lines. You can choose the perfect Toyota to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today.
Welcome back from our third break here to the Bat Around, and sports betting has come to Maryland, and we're ready to help you win some money. Tune in for Simply the Bets with Glenn Clark and Paul Valley every Tuesday morning at 11:40. FanDuel Sportsbook GM Bruce Billick and VSiN's Aaron Oster joins the guys every week to give you all the info you need and even a few winners. So come win some money with us on Simply the Bets every Tuesday at 11:40 a.m. Brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Listen at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. Watch at YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline. And every other Thursday at 11:40, tune in for Weekend at Bookies as Andrew Stetka and BetPrep's Brad Feinberg help you make some money for the weekend.
Host is muted.
You were muted. You were muted.
Host is muted. Take the Rake. Brought to you by me.
Brought to you by the great Paul Valley.
Thank you. You're the only one who's ever called me the great Paul Valley. I appreciate it.
I'm not going to do it again then. That's I'm not going to do it again.
That's just not the name you...
I can't be the only one who've called you that.
I think my dad's called me that, but maybe...
Well, he was just talking about himself.
Maybe he may have been. I am a third. Maybe my wife has called me the great Paul Valley. I don't know.
Getting into more Paul's personal life.
Yes.
What is Paul's nickname? What does he go by at home?
Not Babe.
Babe. Okay, I've heard her call you that before.
Yeah, that's basically all she calls me is Babe. I've had people call me PV3. My grandfather started.
Yeah, I'm never doing that.
But that's actually my favorite nickname.
Really?
Yeah.
PV3? I think it sounds weird.
Well, it's like, did you call Robert Griffin III RG3?
I did, but he's
People have been calling me PV3 since I was a small child. My grandfather started calling me PVT because it stood for Paul Valley the Third. He's a guy who's commemorated on my arm. He died on my 12th birthday. Not to be. It was also the same day that Tupac died, and everybody else was like super upset about Tupac, and I'm sitting there like, my grandfather just died. You guys suck.
What year was that? Like mid-90s? Okay.
1996. My 12th. It was Friday the 13th.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was not a great day.
Tupac's alive on an island somewhere, Paul. You know that.
Tupac's alive out in California. I saw a video of him standing behind a warehouse talking to people.
Of course you did.
No, this was a real video. I don't think it was actually.
It's a real video. Aside from the guy in the video, was not actually real Tupac.
Exactly. But people are like, I swear it's Tupac. We'll have to have you look it up.
Okay.
But so anyway. What was my
Take the Rake.
Nickname. So PV3.
Oh, yeah.
People have been. What really sucks is I had a buddy who started calling me Paulie V. Well before Jersey Shore was a thing.
I don't like that one.
He started calling me. You don't like any of my nicknames. He started calling me PV3 well before Jersey Shore was a thing. And then Paulie D comes about in 2009 because of Jersey Shore, and it was like everybody started calling me that. And I'm like, you have no idea. Like, they thought that he was calling me that because of Jersey Shore. It's like, no, he's been calling me this for 5 years.
Yeah.
You know, I was so disappointed. I was like, great. Now he can't call me that without people thinking Jersey Shore.
There's no natural nickname for me. There just isn't. So I don't have one.
Hey, D-Head.
You can call me. Wow. Let's not do that one. But yeah, there's no natural nickname for me.
How about we call you Saul, since your last name's Goodman?
So Saul. Yeah, that'd be a good one. Better
show
call Saul.
comes back in 2 days.
I know, it's April 18th, I think.
It's
right?
Monday.
Yeah. It's incredible. I love that show.
Yeah. Have you been watching Winning Time?
No.
The story of the dynasty of the Los Angeles Lakers?
I did not watch. I'm not a basketball guy, so I did not watch that.
Neither am I, and it's still freaking fantastic.
Still good?
Do you have HBO Max?
I do not.
Do you have HBO?
No.
Well, then I
guess
you're gonna have to wait for it to come on the Netflix. Then.
Yeah. I didn't even watch The Last Dance, if I'm being honest.
What? Go on Netflix and watch it. Just go. Do yourself a favor. It's so good. You don't. Again, I'm not a basketball fan. I was alive, and I was a Bulls fan in the mid-'90s because it was freaking Michael Jordan. What kid wasn't a Bulls fan?
I heard out of that, though, people were talking about how they hired a baseball scout as their GM at one point, the Bulls, which I thought was cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like that part. It has something to do with baseball, so of course I like it.
Didn't the Oakland Athletics, or no, it was Cleveland Guardians, I think, they hired a former football guy.
Hey, by the way, Chicago Bulls, I'm available. I can be your new GM if you still want to take that approach.
I think a prerequisite is that you have to have at least watched The Last Dance.
Yeah, that would probably that's probably
to know their history.
It might be in the interview, yeah.
Anyway, people don't care about this.
No.
Take the Rake. I took Jorge Mateo. Zach took Ramon Arias. They both had 4 hits this past week, but Mateo was 4 for 20, 3 walks, 3 runs, 2 stolen bases, a double, 8 strikeouts, and 2 RBIs. Who on the team doesn't have at least 8 strikeouts?
They're all striking out.
And Ramon Arias went 4 for 24 with a double, 1 RBI, 2 walks, no stolen bases, 2 runs, 7 Ks. by the skin of his teeth, Jorge Mateos picks up the win. We can't have a loss.
We can't really.
I mean, not a loss. We can't have a tie.
We can't do ties every week. That's
we
just
can't
not
do
the way it
ties
works.
every week. And this one was Mateo got a base hit with runners in scoring position the other day, whereas Arias has been really struggling. He's been getting on base, providing excitement. He had the better week overall. And the batting average was at least 200, whereas Arias was well below 200 for the week. So he gets the win, which means I get the win, which means I get to pick first this week. And I'm going to take Austin Hayes. I think Austin Hayes is about to get hot. Was that who you were going to take?
Yeah.
I'm going to take Austin Hayes.
All right.
He had a couple of hits last night. He's hitting some bad luck this year. He's been striking the ball pretty hard. I'm going to take him to get his first home run this week and win and take the rake.
I'm going to take the hot bat. Santander is my pick for this week.
Okay, yeah. Stan, God love Stan. I don't know what eyes he was using to watch Santander.
No, he's been on fire.
He's hitting .316 with a .536 on base percentage, a .565 slugging percentage. He's well over 1,000 OPS this season. He's off to a good start. Maybe the last game or so, he not great, but not bad either. He's still getting on base, and he's hitting over 300. So, did you know that since 2008,
little trivia,
the Orioles have only had 3 guys bat over 300 in a full season?
That does not surprise me. They've always gone for the power hitters over the guys that make a lot of contact. So
usually their top hitter is like 290, 291. Can you name the 3 guys? I bet you can only name 1.
So I'm guessing Machado didn't do it. I don't think he did. Adam Jones probably got close, but then again,
he
most
never
of
hit over
his
300
on-base
in a
percentage was only in the low 300s as well. Brian Roberts.
No, he hit 314 in 2005.
Okay. And what years is this from? Sorry, I already
2008 through now.
Oh, okay. That's a little too late for Brian then. Because he was on the Yankees in like 09 or 10.
No, he was on
correct?
the Yankees in 14.
Was it that much later? Wow.
Yeah.
I'm misremembering Brian Roberts' career. I'm sorry,
after
Brian.
the 09 season, he signed a 4-year, $40 million contract and proceeded to hit himself in the head with a baseball bat and concuss himself.
Markakis.
Nick Markakis hit
there's
306 in 2008. Who was the other guy on that team to hit over 300?
In 08.
You're never going to guess this.
Luke Scott. I'll just throw it out there. I have no idea.
No.
Hit a lot of home runs. Probably not. The average wasn't there. Yeah, I don't know.
Aubrey Huff.
Oh, God.
Hit 304 that year. Hit 34 homers. Hit 48 doubles. Drove in 108. He had a really good freaking year.
And there's one more?
And there's one more who hit over 300 since 2008. More recent. You might get this because I said more recent.
More recent. Well, you look at the best players in this team in the past.
And this is also assuming, we'll say 130-plus games.
Okay. Wow. This is actually kind of tough. I'm just trying to rack my brain for the guys that have been on this team. I mean, Hardy never got close. Chris Davis never did it. I mean, some of your more famous Orioles.
I'll tell you, I was doing
a
tidbit for Glenn Clark Radio for yesterday, and I was doing something related to Jackie Robinson. And Jackie Robinson had like a 342 career batting average. No, I'm sorry, a 3.
It wasn't Hyun-Soo Kim, was it?
No.
Okay.
No, he hit over 300, but it wasn't Hyun-Soo Kim, and it wasn't in enough games. He played like 96 games that year. So when I was doing this, I was he hit like 314 or 316 for his career, and he hit over 320. If you include the Negro Leagues, he hit over 325 times, including 342, which led the league the year he won MVP in 1949. And I was looking, I was like, how many Orioles have hit over 320?
Mm-hmm.
And it was
can't be many.
Only 10. Only 9 or 10. No, I'm sorry. Only 7 Orioles have hit over 320 in team history, and since 1954. And then I was interested to be like, how many guys have hit over 300 in the last however long? Yeah. And I was like, well, this guy did it most recently. He just did this recently. But other than him, I can't imagine who it was.
Was this guy on the team for a long time, or was it a one-year thing?
No. It wasn't a one-year thing, but he wasn't here very long.
Okay. So he must have gotten dealt or free agency or something. I mean, Nelson Cruz didn't do it in the year. He
had like
was great.
265.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. Man, very difficult. This is very difficult.
We talked about him on this show.
We did?
He was here while we've been doing this show. Not today's show.
Oh,
I mean,
okay. So this is
show,
really,
the show in general.
This is really recent then.
Yeah.
VR?
No, he hit like 279.
Someone really hit 300. Oh, Hanser Alberto.
Yep.
That's who it was.
He hit 305 with a 304 on base percentage. If that's at all possible. I'm just kidding.
I was really thinking like 2014, 2012. I was trying to rack my brain on those playoff teams.
Nobody hit over 300
yeah.
those seasons. Yeah. Machado, I think, one year hit like 294.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
And Mullins last year was over 300 all year, and then
292, I think,
he
finished
at 291.
Okay.
A lot of Mancini in 2019 hit 291. A lot of guys are right around 290, 291. But nobody, and I think Scope hit like 290 one year. The year they hit 30-plus homers.
Yeah, he had 1 year where he was unbelievable.
Yeah, he had like an MVP type season. But so it was Hanser Alberto in 2019.
Okay.
He hit 305 in 139 games, over 500 bats. All right. So I went take the rake. I took Austin Hayes. You took
I took Santander.
Anthony Santander. Final thought. My final thought for today. The Orioles have been so bad with runners in scoring position, and I think they have an opportunity. Who's pitching for the Yankees? It's Jameson Taillon. He's a good
Tyler
pitcher.
Wells.
I think when we're at the game tomorrow, that the Orioles are going to break out. I think tomorrow on Easter Sunday, kids get to run the bases. They're facing a soft tosser, Nestor Cortez. I think tomorrow the Orioles break out, hit over 300 with runners in scoring position, and score at least 7 runs.
Okay, that's your final thought. So mine is going to be on the pitching situation. And I think Orioles fans have suffered a little too long. I think Kyle Bradish's time should be here. In the next week or two, I want to see Kyle Bradish in an Orioles uniform. He pitched well in one game at Norfolk. Obviously, that doesn't mean much. It's one game. But we know Kyle Bradish is very good. He's right there with DL Hall as probably the second best pitcher in the system. He's right there. I know that the Orioles really like him. I mean, they're really high on this guy. And I want to see Kyle Bradish in Baltimore. I don't think you can keep throwing Spencer Watkins out there, and especially now there's going to be another starter that enters this rotation with John Means being out. Maybe that guy is Bradish. I sure hope it is. I think Orioles fans deserve to see Kyle Bradish in this rotation. I want to see him here in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, no, I can't say I disagree with you. I think they'll give him another start or two down.
I think so.
To stretch him out.
Yeah,
to stretch him out, and I think that they held him back to build up his innings because they had plans for him for this year, and sooner rather than later. And same thing with DL Hall. I don't put him at the same level as DL Hall because I watched DL Hall pitch, and he's so freaking filthy.
I just think that Bradish has the better command, so he profiles more as a long-term starter for me. So.
Yeah, I don't think I disagree with you on that one. I expect to see all. Matt Kremnitzer said June or July for Grayson Rodriguez. I expect to see all 3 of these guys here in June. And that doesn't mean that they all get here in June. I mean, I expect that all 3 of them will finally all be here. By June.
And Bradish should be the first one because Bradish is I think he's ready. I think Bradish is ready. And if
I
you've
think
seen
they're
him
all
pitch,
ready.
I think they could all probably dominate a lot of hitters in this league at this point. But I do think Bradish is the most polished one at this point where I think he's ready to go.
Yeah. Polished. I mean, Grayson Rodriguez.
He's pretty freaking polished too.
The thing about Grayson Rodriguez, is that they know he's major league ready right now. They know that they could put him in the starting rotation right now, and he can get out major league hitters. They know that. They want to build up the innings.
Yeah.
They want to build up the innings. They want to build up the pitch count, and they went up incrementally. But he threw 4 innings, then 5 innings, 61 pitches and 67 pitches. I think his next start, they'll push him up to about 75 pitches, maybe 80. And if that gets him through 6 innings, that's a bonus for them. And I picked June for Grayson Rodriguez's debut. It may be sooner than that. You were nervous to see if he gets to Norfolk, and there's some major league guys that are playing in AAA. Nervous to see how he's going to fare against him, and he's done nothing but dominate.
Yeah,
he's absolutely dominated in 15 innings. I mean, in 9 innings, 15 strikeouts, 1 walk, 2 earned runs.
Can I add in one more final thought?
Yes.
I have one more thing to say. Luis Barrera, he was put on waivers by the Athletics earlier this week. He is one of the better prospects in their organization. I don't exactly know why he was put on waivers, but in a career lifetime in the minors, he's hit 281 with 26 homers. He's a pretty decent outfielder. They carried DJ Stewart on this roster, so clearly they were willing to go with 5 outfielders. So I would like to see Barrera, a guy who can play center field, a guy who's very athletic, and has yet to make his major league debut. He's a little bit older. He's born in 1995, which equates to 26 years old, I believe.
27.
27 years old.
It's 2022. Unless he hasn't. Unless
correct.
he has a later
Good point.
birthday.
So he should be a guy I would like to claim off waivers if I was the Orioles, and they do get first crack at that. I'm wrong. Apparently, they outrighted him yesterday, so he did not get claimed. So never mind.
Way to waste our time.
My final thought was worthless.
That's a minute and 15 seconds. We'll never get.
We'll
back.
never get that one back.
We'll never get back. How's Shed Long doing?
I have no idea where Shed Long is.
I think he's down in extended spring training.
Is that where he is? Okay,
Yeah,
makes sense. No idea.
He didn't get into any games in spring training. He's still coming back. He had that foot injury, right? He had foot surgery.
Yeah, I think that's a good question for Eric Garfield if we have him on next week.
We'll try and talk to Eric Garfield next week, see what's going on with Shed Long, and I'm looking for the Orioles bats to finally break out. Don't know that they're going to do it against Jameson Taillon. That's a really good pitcher, and Nestor Cortez is a good pitcher too. But I think that
surprisingly,
that's a guy where if the Orioles can sit back enough, I think they can really do some damage against him. So,
agreed.
Guys, thank you for tuning in to the Bat Around. Had a lot of fun, as always, talking with you all. Thanks to Stan the Fan Charles for joining us for his weekly segment. Thanks to Matt Kremnitzer for finally being able to get on the show with us. Always great intel from him. Thank you to all of our sponsors. Thanks to Zach Goodman. And thanks to me. Thank you,
Paul.
Yahoo for school. Yahoo for me.
Wow, that was weird.
It's Billy Madison.
Billy Madison. I'm not a fan of that movie.
You wouldn't be.
No.
Well, because anyway, that's a story. That's a story for another day. Guys, thanks for tuning in the Bat Around. Until next.